Chapter 1421. While at Elder Fong and Elder Du's side, Wang Chong had learned a little about formations. And in the apocalyptic era, Wang Chong had also come into contact with a few formations, though none of them had been systematic. Even so, this was enough for Wang Chong's understanding of formations to far surpass that of an ordinary person. Forget it. In any case, I haven't been able to come up with any good ideas after thinking for so long. So why don't you try? It's better than doing nothing at all. The formation elder extended a finger, and with a whoosh, a strand of energy flew through the air. As the formation elder waved his finger, the diagram of the formation began to appear on the ground. This was a massive circular formation with more than 1,000 formation gates and more than 10,000 variations. It was practically impossible to completely destroy this formation. So even the formation elder had only been able to draw out 30 to 40% of it. But even so, this was still quite astonishing. If word of this got out, it would probably shock many people. After all, the Origin Immortal Lord had been the supreme formation grandmaster of the Origin Immortal continent. And those ancient formations had already been lost. So for the formation elder to be able to deduce 30 to 40% of them was already quite astonishing. It's naturally for the best that you have some foundation, but this is still a formation left behind by the Origin Immortal Lord. How much you can comprehend will depend on yourself. I will only give you a rough explanation. The path of formations is ever-changing, but all changes remain the same. All formations are fundamentally inseparable. Life, injury, rest, due, landscape, death, alarm, and 8 gates. As long as you grasp this crucial transformation, you should theoretically be able to undo all formations. But this is only theory. The formation elder began to draw on the ground, explaining the transformations of the formation to Wang Chong, while imparting some systematic knowledge to him. The formation elder had never been a good teacher, nor did he have the leisure to teach a disciple. However, the formation elder had already been trapped in this formation for many hours without making much progress. He had nothing better to do than teach Wang Chong. Furthermore, even if it wasn't for the monk's sake, he still had to give face to the evil emperor. So the life, injury, rest, due, Jing, death, meridian, and meridian of life and death, meridian of rest correspond to 128 formation gates in this formation, which contains 1,536 variations. Wang Chong suddenly said after hearing the formation elder's explanation. The formation elder's face froze at these words, and he gave Wang Chong a strange look. He had only roughly explained some basic things to Wang Chong, but Wang Chong was already able to deduce these things. This was far beyond his expectations. This level of comprehension was truly shocking. This child is not only talented in martial arts, but he is also very talented in spirit formations. This thought flitted through the formation elder's mind, and he shot a glance at the evil emperor. For a moment he had a strange idea. After a moment of silence, the formation elder settled his mind and began to explain the mysteries of formations to Wang Chong. The open gate, rest gate, and life gate are auspicious gates, so they are relatively less dangerous. The death gate, alarm gate, and pain gate are inauspicious gates. Once you enter these gates, you will be in grave danger, especially the death gate, where death is almost certain. As for the stop gate and view gate, they are relatively peaceful, like inauspicious gates and inauspicious gates. They are not as dangerous, but they are also not as safe. You and your master are in the rest gate. The rest gate also means rest. The formation gates in the formation are constantly changing, and even if a martial artist doesn't die, they will be exhausted. There is simply no time to stop. Only in the rest gate can you find a rare moment of respite. In this formation gate, you can rest and recover your stellar energy. This is also why your master contacted me through the origin of energy, and I told them not to leave for the time being. This formation was created by the Origin Immortal Lord, and it uses the world around it. Once you leave the rest gate, even an expert like your master will be in grave danger. The formation elder's voice was much graver. This formation was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Not even the evil emperor dared to say that he was safe here, much less anyone else. Even someone as accomplished as he was in formations could only protect himself. Even he had been treading on thin ice from his previous position to this point. Otherwise, it wouldn't have taken him so long. But Senior Zhou, based on what you said, the Rest Gate is an auspicious place, so there shouldn't be any danger here. But not too long ago, we were attacked by a formation in the Rest Gate. This is completely different from what you said about the Rest Gate being a safe place to rest and recover. Wang Chong said with a frown. I just mentioned it to you. You were able to notice this so quickly. Not bad, not bad. The formation elder stroked his beard as he gave Wang Chong an appreciative glance and gave a slight nod. But the Rest Gate isn't as simple as you think. The Rest Gate isn't as dangerous as the other formation gates, but it isn't completely free of danger. Once one entered the Mystic Door formation, there was no place that was completely safe. Once you enter the formation, you'll trigger a chain reaction. Only by finding the Life Gate will you be able to leave this place. The Rest Gate is for rest, just rest. You won't be able to stay here forever. The position of the Door of Healing would change every 20 hours, and there would be dangers such as traps or poisonous gas. This is unavoidable. But based on this theory, there should only be one danger per day. But since I entered, my master and I have already been attacked twice. This is different from the Rest Gate theory that Senior spoke of. As Wang Chong spoke, he raised his head to look at the formation elder. In theory, the formation elder was an expert in formations, so he could not be wrong. But Wang Chong had keenly noticed that the formation elder's explanation was inconsistent with reality. Master and disciple had spent quite a few hours in this place, and he could not possibly be wrong about this. The formation elder stared in shock at Wang Chong, speechless for a long time. Hey you brat! It's a pity that someone as perceptive as you chose to follow your master. Old scoundrel, don't even think about it. This old man will never give up on my disciple to you. Quickly put an end to this idea. A cold voice rang out. The demonic emperor old man was looking forward, but he was well aware of what was going on the other side. Zhang Wenfu, what are you thinking? When did this old man ever say that he was going to steal your disciple? The formation elder had an embarrassed look on his face. Having his thoughts seen through, he immediately blushed in shame. He had been a loner his entire life, and this could be seen from the fact that he had not even had a servant by his side on this trip to the northwest. It was not because he was lofty and aloof, but because he truly couldn't find a disciple he liked. He was already so old, but he still had no successor. How could he not be worried? But this sort of thing could not be rushed. After all, not just anyone could become a disciple who could pass on his legacy. Moreover, he was not skilled with words, so he had been even less able to find a suitable disciple. But the formation elder had never imagined that Wang Chong would be so talented. There were many things that he had just told him once, and he would be able to draw inferences. A pity, truly a pity. Hey, if he wasn't that fellow's disciple, I would be able to steal him away. The formation elder felt like wringing his hands, but he could not show any of this on his lips. Wang Chong inwardly chuckled at this sight. Although he was eccentric and stubborn at times, the formation elder truly had a rather cute personality. Senior, let's talk about the formation, Wang Chong said. The formation elder had a conflicted look on his face, but he was intimidated by the tyrannical might of the nearby evil emperor, so he did not dare to continue. Kid, your senses are truly sharp. For a trap to appear at the Rest Gate twice in 24 hours is definitely not normal. This is also why I said that this formation is strange. It's because of the traces left behind by someone. But how could that be possible? The Origin Immortal Lord passed away several hundred years ago, and all his successors have died. And now that the art of formations has been lost, there are only a few people who truly understand ancient formations. Could it be that there is someone more formidable than me, who has long ago entered the core of the formation and taken control of it? But that's impossible. In the end, the formation elder muttered to himself, his brow tightly creased and his hands scratching his head so hard that his scalp was almost torn apart. It was like he had encountered some enormous problem. He had always been proud of his mastery of formations, and there was probably no one in the world who could compare to him. He had studied all kinds of formations since ancient times, and many ancient formations and formation diagrams were like heavenly tomes to others, but the formation elder knew them like the back of his hand. But against this origin immortal lord, a true grandmaster of formations, who had lived for at least 800 years, the formation elder found it very difficult to make use of all his knowledge. He simply couldn't deduce the pattern of the formation circulation. He couldn't even deduce a quarter of the circulation pattern. Such a situation simply shouldn't have happened. This was also the reason why the formation elder had spent so much time and effort on this problem. Wang Chong said nothing, his head slightly lowered, a pensive look in his eyes. He didn't believe that there was another formation expert, like the formation elder, who had managed to get to the core of the formation first. It was already rare for a formation expert of the formation elder's level to appear in the Northwest. There couldn't possibly be a second one so coincidental. Moreover, since this person had already entered the core, if there was treasure inside, they should have immediately taken it, and if there wasn't, they should have immediately left. No matter what, they shouldn't have stayed here for so many hours, not searching for treasure, but plotting against the 700 to 800 martial artists in the formation. This was not a normal action. Chapter 1422. Senior Zhou, the formation elder. Senses can't be wrong. Could there really be a third faction? But just what sort of person could control such a massive formation in a world where the art of formations has been lost? Wang Chong's brow deeply creased, a pensive look in his eyes. Bzz. A thought suddenly flashed through Wang Chong's mind. He recalled the corpses he had seen in the formation decades ago, perhaps even centuries ago. He also recalled many legends regarding the origin immortal art. The 10 great arts of the Central Plains had all appeared, and even the myriad spirit sea art that his master, the evil emperor, cultivated could be traced back to it. Only the supreme and ultimate immortal art, ranked first, had never appeared until the end of the world and the collapse of the Central Plains. If the origin immortal art had been completely buried in the river of history, then one thing would be fine. But from the marks in the formation, it seemed like the origin immortal mountain would open once in a while. He hadn't given it much thought before, but now that he thought about it, the formation elder's words made it seem extremely unusual. At this moment, Wang Chong seemed to think of something. The formation elder had no idea what Wang Chong was thinking. Since he had sensed Wang Chong's astonishing talent, he had naturally done his utmost to teach Wang Chong, wanting nothing more than to pour everything he had learned into Wang Chong's head. And with the guidance of a master like the formation elder, and Wang Chong's own astonishing comprehension ability, his mastery of formations naturally advanced by leaps and bounds. Time slowly passed, and as Wang Chong studied formations with the formation elder, very few people knew that in another place, a pair of eyes was silently observing everything. His eyes were cold and emotionless as he watched one martial artist after another fall into the array and grind into dust like chickens and dogs. No emotion could be seen in his eyes. Men die for wealth, birds die for food. They only have themselves to blame. The man coldly said as he watched the changes in the formation. How many people are left in the formation? The surroundings were quiet. Soon a respectful voice rang out. Young master. There are 576 people in the formation, and more than 150 have died. What? So few people have died? That person had his hands behind his back. When he heard this, he suddenly turned around and frowned deeply. There are many more people this time, and we have to be much more cautious. The newly formed Jingqi League still has more than 300 people outside the formation, and the myriad ghost ancestor, the Black Yin ancestor, and Song Yuani have also entered the formation. These 3 people are surrounded by a large number of cultivators. With them around, our array formation has been greatly affected. Its lethality is far from what we expected. Even the array formation has been affected. The man behind him bowed and paused for a moment, then continued. In addition, the demonic emperor, who came here last time, is also in the formation. It is rumored in the martial arts world that he is a demon who kills without batting an eyelid. He has always been paranoid and willful, a lone wolf, but this time, There seems to be a formation expert at his side. After receiving guidance, the demonic emperor actually remains motionless at the rest gate, rendering many of our techniques useless against him. Humph. What formation expert? In this age of chaos, the power of ancient formations has long since been lost, and they're just some clowns. Could it be that you still think someone can go against an ancient formation left behind by an immortal monarch? The man leading the group coldly said. This subordinate understands. The man hurriedly bowed and lowered his head, not daring to say anything else. We can't let them have it so easy in the formation. Since they've become greedy and coveted the immortal lord's treasury, they have to be prepared to be wiped out and die here. Pass on my order. Activate the core formation. Whether it's Song Yuani, the Black Yin ancestor, or that demonic emperor, I want them all to die here. Yes. In the southwest, in the rest gate, Wang Chong's mastery of formations had advanced by leaps and bounds, to the point where even the formation elder could only sigh in praise, growing more and more fond of Wang Chong. Teaching Wang Chong had originally been something he had done in passing, as the crux was to break out of his current predicament. But later on, the formation elder had become so excited by the prospect that he had completely forgotten about going out, secretly treating this as a private gathering for his disciple. Let me ask you, how many changes can there be in the view gate in a quarter hour? 256. Wang Chong immediately answered. Then what about the stop gate? 512. Wang Chong immediately answered, a pensive look on his face. Then let me ask you, how long will it take for a person trapped in the alarm gate to be pushed to the life gate by the formation, and then to the death gate? The formation elder asked, his expression extremely solemn. There will be a change every hour. If he doesn't make the correct move, it will take around 12 times. After 12 hours, he will be pushed to the pain gate. But it will only take 4 hours to go from the pain gate to the death gate, and he will have to endure the power of the entire formation. His death is basically assured, Wang Chong sternly said, his mind turning faster and faster. If one looked carefully, one would realize that in Wang Chong's mind, there was a massive formation constructed from countless points, each point constantly colliding and moving. Then let me ask you again, if a person is trapped in the pain gate, what formation gates will they have to pass through? How many steps will they have to take to return to the view gate? And how many steps will they have to take to return to the rest gate and escape from danger? The formation elder's expression was grim, and his questions were getting faster and more difficult. This time, Wang Chong finally fell silent, his mind rapidly calculating. At this sight, the formation elder finally stroked his beard and smiled. Wang Chong's comprehension ability was truly too high, so high that he, as his teacher, found it rather embarrassing. I have to give him a taste of my power, lest he thinks that the formation is easy and gets restless. The formation elder saw Wang Chong's thoughtful expression, and though he said nothing, he was inwardly rejoicing. But a moment later, Wang Chong's answer completely overturned the formation elder's thoughts. To return to the view gate from the pain gate, one needs to pass through the alarm gate, the stop gate, the open gate, the stop gate, the alarm gate, and only then can one return to the view gate. Taking into account the changes in the 9 palaces, one needs a total of 1,364 steps. And to reach the rest gate, one needs an additional 3,351 steps. Wang Chong straightforwardly said. The formation elder stared at Wang Chong, his eyes wide and mouth slack. How could this be? The formation elder found it impossible to believe that after teaching Wang Chong for just a few hours, the latter was able to understand and apply it to the formation before him. This completely overturned the formation elder's understanding of formations. The evil emperor, standing on the side with his hands held behind his back, was inwardly chuckling at this sight. The formation elder's selfish desire to make Wang Chong his successor was not something that could be hidden from him. But the evil emperor had deliberately chosen not to expose him. For Wang Chong to become the Tang dynasty's king of foreign lands in just 2 years, and also cultivate the great yin-yang heaven creation, art to the point of perfection. How could an ordinary person compare to this level of comprehension? How could the formation elder's formations possibly stump him? Haha, senior, in truth, it's just that I have a strong calculative ability. I only need to run through all the calculations in my mind. Wang Cheng faintly smiled. You bastard brat. The formation elder's eyes bulged in anger, his chest heaving up and down. The art of formations was so profound that Wang Cheng had treated it like a simple calculation. This infuriated the formation elder to no end. Rumble. Just as the two of them were speaking, a sudden change occurred. Accompanied by a violent sound, the entire ground began to shake again. Aya! Several unaffiliated martial artists huddled together with Wang Cheng's group cried out, their eyes brimming with fear. It's starting again. The few of them trembled and looked very uneasy. They were all martial artists with extraordinary strength, but compared to this huge ancient array formation, they were just insignificant ants. It's a little different. Wang Cheng raised his head to the overcast sky, his expression extremely grave. For some reason, this shift in the formation gave him a completely different feeling. Brat Zhang Wenfu, watch out. There's something wrong with the situation. The formation seems to have gotten much stronger. The formation elder's voice suddenly rang out in his ear, his eyes fixed on the sky, his expression extremely nervous. Cackalack. Before his voice faded away, it was as if the entire sky had split open. Everyone heard an unprecedented loud noise, as if the entire world had been split open by a terrifying force. Before anyone could react, thick smoke began to roil around them, the dark green fog sweeping toward them with more ferocious momentum than ever before. At the same time, the entire space around them seemed to be a kite that had gone out of control, flung away by some dreadful power as the formation began to spin. Ah! Cries of alarm could be heard as all the martial artists panicked. Save me! Young master, save me! Like drowning men, they turned to Wang Cheng, their eyes brimming with desire. This formation was far more terrifying than they had imagined. If Wang Cheng did not save them, they were doomed. Buzz! Before these people could even finish speaking, an enormous attractive force immediately began to pull them in. At the same time, Wang Cheng's stellar energy spread out and engulfed all these unaffiliated martial artists. Just as he finished doing this, the corrosive green mist immediately swept over, making sizzling sounds in the void, as if even space itself was being corroded. Although he sensed that this poisonous fog was different, Wang Cheng only raised his brow and quickly calmed down. Wang Cheng could be considered to be quite experienced in dealing with poison gas traps. This sort of trap was no longer a threat to Wang Cheng. Cheng, careful. Chapter 1423. The stellar energy in his body was being drained away by some invisible energy. The great yin-yang heaven creation art was known as the world's #1 evil art, and it could only absorb the energy of others. There had never been a situation where it could absorb the energy of others. This time, Wang Cheng was truly shaken. Careful! This is the power of the formation, using the energy of the world. We're probably not the only ones affected by this suction. The evil emperor's voice rang out in his ear. Wang Cheng was not the only one who could sense the power of the formation. The evil emperor was also affected. The master and disciple seemed to be trapped in an invisible maw, their stellar energy constantly draining away. At the level of Wang Cheng and the evil emperor, their stellar energy had become as dense as steel. If even experts of this level could be affected by the formation, one could easily imagine how the others were faring. This was more than enough to make anyone alarmed. Aya! I can't move. What's going on? How could this be? Save me! Save me! I don't want to die. I don't want to die. As Wang Cheng and the evil emperor were doing their best to resist the sucking, screams came from the neighboring areas. The screams were shrill, but a few moments later they came to a halt. The blood-curdling screams of those on the verge of death made anyone who heard them feel a chill in their hearts. Rumble! Before the first had even subsided, another had risen. Before Wang Cheng and the others could react, the space around them shuddered, and the formation elder's panicked voice rang out in their ears. Not good. The formation here has fallen into chaos. We've been pushed from the rest gate to the alarm gate. The formation elder's voice had changed. The Rest Gate was one of the less dangerous of the 8 gates, and it was a rare place to establish a foothold. Here, everyone had to face much less danger than other people. But just now, they had been pushed out of the Rest Gate by the formation's power, and into the extremely dangerous Alarm Gate. The 8 gates of the formation were all interconnected. If he could not enter the Life Gate or the Healing Gate, he would be like a domino, falling from the less dangerous Array Gate to the more dangerous Array Gate. Until he was thrown into the Death Gate by the formation, he would have to bear the power of the entire formation until he died. Buzz! The formation elder's voice was still ringing in his ears when the space around him shuddered. Wang Chong immediately sensed that the sucking energy coming from the formation had increased by several times. Under the effect of this suction, the loss of stellar energy in his body immediately sped up. Boom! Almost at the same time, a series of booming sounds came from above. Watch out above you! The formation elder only needed a glance to grimace when he saw this. High up in the sky, huge stone pillars that required 2 people to wrap their arms around were falling down at an astonishing speed, smashing towards Wang Chong and the others. Each of these stone pillars weighed at least 7,000 to 8,000 jin. More importantly, one could sense intense ripples of origin energy coming from them. This formation had infused an enormous amount of heaven and earth energy into the stone pillars, causing each of these stone pillars to be no weaker than a full-powered attack from a Saint Martial Realm expert. This attack was extremely threatening even to experts like Wang Chong and the Evil Emperor. In an instant, everyone's expressions changed. The Alarm Gate. This was only a moderately dangerous formation gate, but its attack was already this powerful. If they fell into the even more dangerous Pain Gate and Death Gate, the danger they would face was easily imaginable. Boom! At almost the same time, a massive wave of stellar energy soared into the sky, striking the stone pillars that had appeared out of nowhere. With an earth-shattering sound, all the stone pillars were immediately shattered. Time is short. I'll deal with the stone pillars. Think of a way to leave this place as quickly as possible. The Evil Emperor's shout resounded in everyone's ears. He had been the one to shatter the stone pillars at the crucial moment, but danger followed them like a shadow. Everything was far from over. Ripples began to spread out in the sky. As everyone watched, the invisible energy of laws pierced through the air. Stone pillars began to gather in the sky, and in the blink of an eye, a massive stone pillar had taken shape. A second and a third stone pillar were rapidly taking shape. These stone pillars would not disappear with their attacks. As long as they remained in the Alarm Gate, these massive stone pillars would continue to be born and attack them endlessly. The situation was dire. Everyone was losing energy, and the massive stones high up in the sky. Their situation was not optimistic. Damn it! On the ground, the formation elder lowered his head in thought. His expression was tense, and his mind was racing. Cold sweat quickly rolled down his forehead. A few moments later, the formation elder's face was red and his body was drenched in sweat. The formation elder had never been skilled in martial arts, and he was far inferior to Wang Chong and the Evil Emperor in terms of martial arts. He was also far from the likes of Wang Chong and the Evil Emperor, characters who would remain unfazed even if Mount Tai collapsed on them. If he was in a peaceful environment, he would definitely be able to come up with a solution. But once he encountered a dangerous situation, especially under extreme pressure, it was very difficult for him to display his strength in the formation, and it was difficult for him to think normally. Even though he knew that this was his problem, the formation elder had never been able to change it. A new wave of attacks was about to arrive, and everyone was about to be pushed into the more dangerous Pain Gate and Death Gate by the Great Formation. At this moment, an extremely calm voice suddenly rang in everyone's ears. Qian Palace to the north 12 steps away. The View Gate is about to appear. Wang Chong thrust out a palm, unleashing a torrent of stellar energy that helped his master, the Evil Emperor, shatter the 3 stone pillars that had just taken shape. At the same time, he charged toward the Qian Palace. Wang Chong's warning allowed the group to quickly react, and several unaffiliated martial artists began to charge in Wang Chong's direction. That's right. It's the View Gate, the View Gate. With Wang Chong's warning, the formation elder quickly calmed down and calculated the position of the view gate. It had only been a few moments since the rest gate had moved from the alarm gate to the alarm gate, but at least 324 transformations had occurred. As the saying goes, pull one hair and the whole body moves. It was no longer possible to return from the gate of alarm to the gate of healing. Out of the 324 transformations, as well as the 682 transformations that were derived from them, every single one of them would push everyone towards the extremely dangerous gate of death. Only the view gate in the direction of the Qian Palace was their only chance. Only by stepping into the view gate could they avoid falling into a trap that would eventually lead them to the death gate. This was also the best choice of all the transformations. But this chance would only last for a moment. If they could not grasp it, they would lose their only chance to escape. To calculate this only chance of survival, they would need to make 600 or 700 calculations in this short period of time. Putting aside everything else, Wang Chong truly possessed astonishing ability when it came to calculations. The Qian Palace to the west 16 steps. This will allow us to enter the view gate as quickly as possible, giving us an extra 2 seconds. The formation elder came back to his senses and quickly said. The formation elder's reminder allowed Wang Chong to quickly come to his senses. Old Ginger was still spicier than young Ginger. Although he had calculated the only chance of survival, and had also calculated the steps and direction, it was still somewhat different from reality. In this aspect, the formation elder truly was not someone he could compare to. Hurry! With this order, Wang Chong, the evil emperor, the formation elder, and all the unaffiliated martial artists charged in the direction the formation elder had indicated. Rumble! The entire formation, from the inside to the outside, was still operating. Everyone could be sucked into an even more dangerous formation gate at any moment. Wang, it was as if he had transmigrated from one world to another. With a flash of light, the huge stone pillars that were descending from the sky suddenly disappeared, and the huge suction force in the void instantly weakened. The view gate. At this moment, they knew that they had entered a new formation gate. We're here. Wang Chong breathed a sigh of relief, but a moment later, Wang Chong sensed that something was wrong. All around him, his master, the formation elder, and the unaffiliated martial artists had vanished. Only Wang Chong was left in the formation gate. Master! Wang Chong had barely spoken when something astonishing occurred. The gray sky turned orange-red, and at the same time, 2 masters appeared to his left and right. Wang Chong's face froze in shock. His master, who had been about to say something, also shrank back. Just as Wang Chong was bewildered by his 2 masters, there was a flash of light, and the number of masters in front of Wang Chong became 4. In the blink of an eye, 8 more formation elders had appeared in front of him, all of them staring at him in shock. Kid, which one is you? The formation elder's shocked voice caused Wang Chong to frown. Just when he was about to speak, he saw something ahead of him, and found himself speechless. Somewhere between the formation elder and the evil emperor, a dot of light appeared, and then an exact copy of him walked out. The 2 of them looked into each other's eyes. Fake mountains, trees, bamboo forests, flowing water. Other things were rapidly appearing around them. Wang Chong could even hear the gurgling of water, and between the flowing water and the rocks were several dozen unaffiliated martial artists, their faces filled with astonishment. Careful! Everything here is just an illusion. Close your eyes, and use your psychic energy to investigate. At almost the same time, a voice rang out in Wang Chong's mind, old and mellow. It belonged to his master, the evil emperor. Wang Chong immediately understood. The greatest characteristic of this view gate was its illusions. Unlike ordinary illusions, the illusions here were so real that they could even imitate the sound of flowing water. If he were to be injured here, it wouldn't be as simple as an illusion. Chapter 1424. Buzz! Wang Chong closed his eyes. At the same time, his psychic energy swept out and engulfed his surroundings. Everything around him quickly vanished, all the illusions dispelled. Wang Chong could only sense his master, the evil emperor, the formation elder, and a few unaffiliated martial artists. But between Wang Chong, the evil emperor, the formation elder, and those unaffiliated martial artists, fiery lava flowed. Wang Chong immediately understood that the gurgling water he had heard was actually the sound of flowing lava. True and false, false and true. The orange-red color of the surrounding space was probably due to this lava. Although the illusion wasn't real, it wouldn't be so simple if he fell into the magma. Pay attention to your feet. The temperature of this lava is extremely high. It's not normal lava. The evil emperor's voice rang out in Wang Chong's ear. He had clearly noticed the lava. Bang! With a thought, Wang Chong immediately punched, striking a stream of lava several dozen feet away. Thick smoke roiled and the fiery lava fiercely vibrated, splashing several dozen feet into the air. This action was sudden and inexplicable, but a moment later, Wang Chong's actions immediately began to show their effects. The orange-red sky around them began to twist, and at the same time, the illusions around them were torn apart like pieces of paper. Ah, what's going on here? The other unaffiliated martial artists also came back to their senses, and as they stared at the scorching lava, they were all shocked. If not for Wang Chong's intervention, the closest unaffiliated martial artist would have already stepped into the lava. Senior Zhou, you calculate the changes in the 9 palaces, and I'll calculate the changes in the formation gate. Wang Chong loudly said. The gate of view was not as dangerous as the gate of surprise, but under the influence of the array, it could deteriorate at any time. Everyone had to think of a way to leave as soon as possible. Wang Chong's psychic energy was so powerful that not even the formation elder could compare to him in the calculation of the formation gate. But Wang Chong was still a beginner. Although he was skilled in calculating the variations of the formation gate, his understanding of formations and the variations of the 9 palaces was far inferior to the formation elders, which was why he had been slightly off in his calculations. All right. Let's work together to calculate the origin immortal formation. The formation elder's long hair drifted in the wind, his mind in agitation. This formation left behind by the origin immortal lord was far more complicated than any formation he knew of, with more than 10,000 variations. Not even the formation elder could keep up, and a single miscalculation would immediately lead to a new change. Thus, he had never been able to accurately calculate the operating rules of the formation, but Wang Chong's appearance had perfectly made up for this flaw of the formation elders. The wind howled in all directions, and the screams in the formation became more and more intense. It was a ghastly sight to hear. Time was short, so Wang Chong and the formation elder closed their eyes and devoted themselves to their calculations. And without Wang Chong's interference, the illusions from before began to appear once more, one after another appearing in the surroundings. Boom! A bolt of stellar energy struck the lava on the ground and tore apart the illusions. This time, it was Wang Chong's master, the evil emperor, who had intervened. The evil emperor was not skilled in formations, so he was of no help in this aspect. He could only assist from the side. Senior Zhou, in 20 seconds, where will the Qin Palace be? Wang Chong suddenly asked, his eyes still closed. To the southeast, 3 palaces to the left. The formation elder quickly calculated. The positions of the 9 palaces had originally been fixed, but the formation left behind by the origin immortal lord had been so powerful that it had altered the terrain, causing the positions of the 9 palaces to shift. Kid, hurry. The changes in the formation are accelerating. Have you calculated which formation gate our next chance of survival is? The formation elder opened his eyes and stared worriedly at Wang Chong. Ordinary people might not have noticed, but through his calculations, the formation elder and Guo Qinzhong could clearly sense that the formation was being accelerated by some external force. This was not normal at all, and no matter what, they didn't have much time left. He could only place his hopes on Wang Chong. Qin Palace, to the east 17 paces. Follow my orders. Wang Chong quickly opened his eyes and stared in the direction of the Qin Palace, his eyes bright. Hurry! Now! A few moments later, Wang Chong looked forward and bellowed. Bang! Following Wang Chong's order, everyone began to charge in a certain direction, the formation rumbling in their ears. Behind them, a stream of lava in the view gate seemed to be stimulated by some sort of energy, spurting out and igniting into a blazing inferno. The orange-red space quickly turned a dangerous dark red. Hurry! Wang Chong lunged forward, stellar energy bursting out of him, as he carried those unaffiliated martial artists toward the stop gate. But as Wang Chong led his group toward the stop gate, elsewhere, several figures who had been controlling the formation turned to Wang Chong, the formation elder, and the demonic emperor. "My lord, it's that group again. These scoundrels seem to be able to calculate how our formation operates. We can't hold them." One of the figures sternly said. Wang Chong's group was simply too conspicuous. From where they were standing, everyone in the formation was screaming, as they were crushed by the formation's power and turned to ash. Only Wang Chong's group seemed to be taking a leisurely stroll through their courtyard, completely unaffected by the formation's power. "My lord, based on the direction they're moving, they're probably trying to return to the rest gate. Once they return, our attacks will be useless against them. If this continues, they'll find what's in the formation sooner or later." At this moment another voice spoke up. "Return to the rest gate? How could that be? They're just a bunch of ants. How could they possibly compare to us? A formation left behind by an immortal lord is not something that just anyone can break." The person who seemed to be the leader placed his hands behind his back and sneered. His gaze turned and quickly swept in another direction, locking onto the figure that was as majestic as a mountain in the formation. "Didn't that person also enter the formation? Since he's too strong and our formation can't deal with him for now, let's think of a way to push him over and have them kill each other. Today, all of them will die here." The man who seemed to be the leader said coldly. "Yes, my lord." At this moment, Wang Chong had no idea that his group was being watched. Boom! The surrounding space shuddered, and a moment later, Wang Chong, the evil emperor, the formation elder, and a few unaffiliated martial artists entered the stop gate. Swish swish swish. As soon as they entered, sharp whistling sounds resounded in their ears. Countless arrows rained down from all directions. Almost at the same time, there was a flash of fire. Waves of raging flames swept towards them like a tide. The flames were wrapped in thick smoke. "Ah, what's going on here? Why is it getting more and more dangerous? Not good. Look behind us." The unaffiliated martial artists began to call out in alarm. They had originally believed that the next formation gate would be much safer based on Wang Chong's calculations, but they had not expected that the moment they entered, they would be met with a torrential storm of attacks. "Hold your breaths and focus on dealing with them." The formation elder's voice rang out in everyone's ears. "The view gate is peaceful on the surface, but it's actually filled with hidden dangers. The stop gate is dangerous on the surface, but it's actually safe. Haven't any of you noticed that the attacks here are the most numerous, but they're far weaker than the pain gate?" The path of formations was both real and false. Unless one completely left, there was no place that was completely safe. Danger and safety were always relative. The formation elder's warning quickly made them realize that this place was different. Although each of the arrows was as thick as a finger and seemed extremely dangerous, none of them were very powerful. As for the rocks coming from behind them, they were only at the profound martial realm. Just as the formation elder had said, this place seemed dangerous, but it wasn't actually that dangerous. The stop gate isn't that safe. Of the 5 elements, the stop gate is of the wood element, and is the bane of the other gates. It's a place of minor inauspiciousness, one plagued by calamities, but also able to turn misfortunes into blessings. If we want to avoid being pushed into the death gate by the formation and dying here, we have to change the flow of energy through the stop gate. Kid, hurry and find the life gate. I'll calculate the changes of the 9 palaces. Wang Chong nodded and spread his stellar energy around his body, shrouding the formation elder and the unaffiliated martial artists. At the same time, he closed his eyes and began to calculate once more. Bum bum bum. The arrows and rocks rained down on Wang Chong's stellar energy, but they were all repelled by Wang Chong's stellar energy. Rocks were blasted into smithereens, and even sharp arrows that were as thick as fingers were broken and bent. Chong'er, focus on your calculations. Leave everything else to me. The evil emperor's voice resounded in his ears. And then there was a bang as a stellar energy, even more valiant than Wang Chong, spread out, enveloping everyone like a tide, and keeping all the attacks at bay. Wang Chong said nothing, only nodded, and then he threw himself into his intense calculations. Senior Zhou, help me calculate the position of the Sun Gate. This time, we'll return to the Rest Gate. This is our last chance. Chapter 1425. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation through the View Gate, the Stop Gate, and then back to the Rest Gate. This was the shortest route to escape danger and return to their previous position. Once they missed it, they would be sucked into the whirlpool of the formation, falling step by step into the increasingly dangerous formation until they died. And even if they did not fall into the Death Gate, to return to the Rest Gate, they would have to pass through at least 108 formation gates. And in between, the calculations required would be more than 100,000 times. Even for Wang Chong, this was a massive calculation. Just as Wang Chong was concentrating on his calculations, the space suddenly trembled, and an enormous aura approached from afar, suddenly appearing in everyone's perception. Alliance Master, be careful. Suddenly, a voice rang out in their ears. Boom! Before the crowd could react, a tall and slender figure suddenly charged in from another direction like a storm. Kacha! The moment that person appeared, a thick floral fragrance wafted through the air. Countless flowers and grass, brimming with vitality, suddenly fell from the sky. At the same time, with that person as the center, a green patch on the ground seemed to have a life of its own, rapidly expanding in all directions at a speed visible to the naked eye. And soon after, countless figures panted out from behind. These people were all dressed in the same uniform, and on the left side of their chests was an extremely eye-catching Tai Chi white crane pattern. The Zhengqi League Master. Sensing that familiar aura, Wang Chong's heart jolted, and he abruptly opened his eyes. In front of him, a figure stood proudly like a mountain, that unmoving aura enough to leave a deep impression on anyone. Who else could it be but the Zhengqi League Master Song Yuanyi? Ah, it's the evil emperor. Everyone be careful. And at almost the same time, the sound of swords being unsheathed rang through the air. The Zhengqi League experts beside Song Yuanyi all paled, and at the same time, they recognized their master, the evil emperor, who was standing beside Wang Chong. In an instant, everyone assumed a defensive stance. A person's name was like a tree's shadow. Within the martial arts world, the demonic emperor Zhang Wenfu's name was like the sun in the sky. There was no one who didn't know of him, let alone the righteous paths people. Even the corrupt paths people were filled with reverence for him. Xiao. Countless rocks and arrows rained down from all directions, but Song Yuanyi just stood there, motionless, repelling all the attacks. Eternal Spring Mantra. As one of the top 3 absolute arts of the righteous path, its defensive power was definitely one of the best in the world. Although the origin immortal formation was riddled with traps and dangers, the ones that could truly threaten Song Yuanyi were limited. The Eternal Spring Mantra was far more formidable against these kinds of attacks than any other technique. This was also why Song Yuanyi and Xie Guangting had split the work, with Xie Guangting remaining outside while Song Yuanyi entered the formation. Zhang Wenfu, I've finally found you and your disciple. This time, don't even think about leaving this place alive. Song Yuanyi stood majestically, his expression cold and aloof, his eyes exuding a sharp and intimidating light. At this moment, the only person who could remain calm was the Alliance Lord of the Zhengqi League. As a titan of the righteous path, Song Yuanyi was undoubtedly one of the supreme experts of the world. Coupled with the Eternal Spring Mantra, even in front of demonic Emperor Zhang Wenfu, Song Yuanyi showed no fear. Ha, Song Yuanyi, when this old man made his name, you were just a nobody in the martial arts world. If your master were here, this old man might have been a little apprehensive, but you don't have the right. The evil emperor's hair and beard danced in the wind as a terrifying aura erupted from his body, like a tidal wave. This was the aura of a lion, that even a martial arts powerhouse like Song Yuanyi would have to bow down before him. In the martial arts world, the name of the Jingqi League Lord Song Yuanyi was like a bolt of lightning piercing through the sun, like the sun at high noon. There was almost no one who did not know of him. When Song Yuanyi's name was mentioned, almost everyone was in awe. Even Wang Chong did not have the upper hand against a martial arts powerhouse like Song Yuanyi. But the evil emperor was different. The demonic emperor was already in his 60s this year, while Song Yuanyi was only in his 50s. The age difference between the two was at least more than 10 years. Although Song Yuanyi's reputation was resounding, in terms of time of fame, demonic emperor Zhang Wenfu had far surpassed the lord of the Jingqi League. When Song Yuanyi was still in his teens, demonic emperor Zhang Wenfu was already a great demon that everyone in the martial arts world feared. In terms of experience, even the lord of the Jingqi League couldn't compare to Zhang Wenfu. Demonic emperor, that was then, and this is now. Your era has already passed, and evil cannot suppress good. No matter what you say, I will represent all the heroes of the righteous path, and those martial artists you killed back then to exterminate you and your disciple here. Song Yuanyi sternly said. Even in front of a legend of the martial arts world like the evil emperor, he showed no fear. The evil emperor's cultivation had faded long ago, and he could no longer use the great Yin-Yang heaven creation art. Meanwhile, Song Yuanyi had cultivated the immortal universe, eternal spring mantra to the highest level. Even if the demonic emperor still had his evil art, he still had no fear. Yuan Jia Changheng, we can give up on the origin immortal art to deal with the demonic emperor, but this master and disciple must be executed here. Yes, Sikong Yuanjia and the elders behind him bowed. Only Ouyang Changheng shot a complicated glance at Wang Chong. Why does he have to be the demonic emperor's disciple? Ouyang Changheng mentally sighed. He still remembered how Wang Chong had helped the Jingqi alliance push back the Black Yin ancestor, and he was grateful for this. If Wang Chong had been anyone else's disciple, they would not have been in such a predicament. But the demonic emperor, there was no leeway for either side. Bang! With a deafening boom, Song Yuanyi took the initiative before anyone else could act. This was the first time Song Yuanyi had taken the initiative in a battle. There was probably no one in the martial arts world more valiant, more legendary, and more fearsome than demonic emperor Zhang Wenfu. Although Song Yuanyi was extremely revered in the martial arts world and hailed as a titan, possessing vast experience in battle, Song Yuanyi was well aware that there was still a gap between him and demonic emperor Zhang Wenfu. In the face of such a powerful foe, no one dared to be careless. Only by striking first would they be able to seize the initiative. Swish! Song Yuanyi raised his head into the air, his eyes cold as he thrust out the index and middle fingers of his right hand. Tens of thousands of eternal spring fingers, sharper than swords, descended like a torrential storm toward demonic emperor Zhang Wenfu. Meanwhile, the stellar energy behind Song Yuanyi shifted, and in the blink of an eye, he had summoned the mighty eternal spring emperor. The immortal universe eternal spring mantra was easy to learn, but difficult to master. Each step required a great deal of time and energy, and Song Yuanyi had spent 5 or 6 years of hard work before he finally succeeded in condensing the eternal spring emperor that represented the highest level of the eternal spring mantra. Once he summoned the eternal spring emperor, Song Yuanyi would be in his strongest form. No matter how powerful his opponent, he would be able to fight them head-on and fight for a long time. In terms of endurance and tenacity, there was probably no other technique in the world that could compare. Wang. In the face of Song Yuanyi's torrential attacks, the evil emperor's expression was calm and composed. He merely extended a finger, and in that instant the air whistled. Countless streams of energy, as hard as steel, exploded out like a tidal wave, and each stream of energy was aimed at Song Yuanyi's eternal spring fingers. Boom! In that instant, 2 completely different but equally powerful streams of energy collided heavily in the air. Endless killing intent filled the air, and an unparalleled wave of energy, as heavy as steel, madly swept through the air. Zhang Wenfu, show me what you've got. Today, only one of us will leave this place alive. Song Yuanyi's voice was high up in the air, hovering in the air, his voice cold as ice. Before the crowd could react, Song Yuanyi floated in the air, looking down from above. He struck out with his palm, and in that instant, rolling waves of eternal spring earth qi came crashing down like a tidal wave. Unlike before, this time, Song Yuanyi's earth qi actually reflected waves of metallic luster. Song Yuanyi's eternal spring earth qi had been cultivated to the extreme, and its density was rare in the world. It was probably even harder than steel. Boom! Wang Chong's body leaped up into the air, and at the same time, endless streams of earth qi shot out from all the pores on his body, and like a torrential downpour, it blasted towards Song Yuanyi. The evil emperor's earth qi also contained a sliver of golden luster, but unlike Song Yuanyi's, this was not the luster of metal, but a sliver of subtle realm earth qi that the evil emperor had drawn from the depths of space-time. Boom! The two earth qi collided, and in just one exchange, Song Yuanyi's body trembled as he was immediately pushed back by an enormous force. Even though he had pushed his eternal spring earth qi to its peak, and had summoned the eternal spring emperor, Song Yuanyi was still a step behind this legendary figure of the martial arts world. Again, a cold light flashed through Song Yuanyi's eyes, and he immediately lunged forward to engage in a fierce battle with the evil emperor. Although his strength and cultivation level were slightly lower than the evil emperor's, the powerful regenerative ability of the eternal spring earth qi and the ability to repel shockwaves made it so that Song Yuanyi could challenge any level of expert. Even when facing the demonic emperor Zhang Wenfu, he showed no fear. In the blink of an eye, the air was filled with the sounds of collisions. The battle between Song Yuanyi and the evil emperor was growing more and more intense, and the terrifying earth qi was so powerful that even the thick arrows and boulders within the stop gate were pulverized before they could even get close. Chapter 1426. This scoundrel is hanging out with demonic Emperor Zhang Wenfu and his disciple, so he's definitely not a good person. Wei Wen, take a few people and kill that old thing. As for the fake young master Qingyang, leave him to me. Sikong Yuanjia's voice was loud and muffled. He pointed a finger at the formation elder, and 7 or 8 Jingqi League experts immediately lunged at him. Damn it! Why are you looking for me? The formation elder paled at this sight. This was truly a case of fish in the moat caught in the crossfire. He had done nothing evil, but because he was with demonic Emperor Zhang Wenfu, he had already been attacked twice by these Jingqi League experts. Senior Zhou, stand back. I'll protect you. At this moment, a voice rang out in the formation elder's ear. At this crucial moment, Wang Chong stepped forward and placed himself in front of the formation elder. Kid, you can't even protect yourself, but you still have the time to care about others? Someone, let's capture this brat together, so that we can face the truth. Sikong Yuanjia's eyes were cold, and before he could finish speaking, he had already begun to attack. Boom! The moment Sikong Yuanjia attacked, Wang Chong immediately responded with a palm. But Sikong Yuanjia had no intention of dodging Wang Chong's attack. Zhurong Divine Armor! Sikong Yuanjia bellowed, and a dense fiery red energy shot out from his body, rapidly transforming into a thick suit of fiery red armor that covered his body. Wang Chong's palm was actually blocked by the Zhurong Divine Armor, which was more than half a foot thick. Moreover, Sikong Yuanjia continued to advance with astonishing speed toward Wang Chong. A defensive divine art. A glimmer of light flashed through Wang Chong's eyes. He had seen Sikong Yuanjia on the mountain, but this was the first time he had truly exchanged blows with him. The martial arts in the world were divided into offensive and defensive types, as well as agility and speed types. Sikong Yuanjia's martial art was clearly a defensive supreme art, and it was a top-notch one at that. Sikong Yuanjia's divine armor had to be shockingly tough to be able to take a blow from him and emerge unscathed. But very quickly Wang Chong reacted. Chi-chi. With a flick of Wang Chong's finger, several milky white bolts of energy shot towards Sikong Yuanjia. Insignificant skill. Sikong Yuanjia sneered. Without even thinking about it, he punched out at Wang Chong's finger chi. But a moment later, the astral fist and the finger energy clashed, and before Sikong Yuanjia could react, he felt as if the Zhurong Divine Armor on his arm had been pierced. The extremely tough god artifact was completely unable to block the milky white strands of qi. 2 strands of qi even shot towards Sikong Yuanjia's face. Not good. Sword qi. A thought flashed through Sikong Yuanjia's mind, and he immediately paled in fright. Sikong Yuanjia had been under the impression that Wang Chong had only sent out some dense strands of qi, but now that he had come into contact with them, he realized that the strands of qi were actually incredibly sharp. They were the most difficult type of sword qi to cultivate in the martial path. Moreover, Sikong Yuanjia could sense that these strands of qi, which were not even as thick as a finger, were compressed strands of sword qi as thin as hair. Each strand of sword qi was harder than steel wire, and their sharpness was comparable to a divine weapon. Sikong Yuanjia's Zhurong divine armor could block a powerful blow from Wang Chong, but it could not block these unremarkable strands of sword qi. Buzz! With no time to think, Sikong Yuanjia tilted his head and dodged Wang Chong's dense attack by a hair's breadth. "Aya!" A scream came from behind him. A Jingqi League expert had been unable to dodge in time, and Wang Chong's sword qi pierced through his head, causing him to plummet from the sky. Art of God and Demon Obliteration. Wang Chong had inherited this technique from So Yung-sun, the war god of the Tang dynasty. However, due to various reasons, Wang Chong had always focused his efforts on the easier Great Yin-Yang Heaven creation art. As for the more difficult art of God and Demon Obliteration, it had remained at the minor achievement realm, a long way from reaching the major achievement realm. But even so, given Wang Chong's cultivation level, and the terrifying destructive power of the art of God and Demon Obliteration, even the minor achievement sword qi was an astonishing threat. In this aspect, not even Sikong Yuanjia's Zhurong divine armor could withstand it. Everyone attack. Kill him. Seeing Sikong Yuanjia suffer a setback, the Jingqi League experts roared and charged. "Damn Jingqi League, you bastards!" The formation elder was both shocked and infuriated. These Jingqi League experts attacked without regard for their range, attacking even the formation elder. With no time to think, the formation elder waved his sleeve, sending out a powerful burst of stellar energy that repelled the arrows coming from behind him. At the same time, he spread open his palm, and 5 colored pebbles flew out. These 5 pebbles were scattered around the formation elder, and the moment they hit the ground, the formation elder was gone in a flash of light. What's going on here? The 7 or 8 Righteous Alliance experts in pursuit slowed down and stared at the empty space in front of them, their eyes wide in shock. Impossible. That scoundrel can't escape. One of the Jingqi League experts clenched his teeth and thrust out a palm, shattering several of the pebbles in the air, and sending a palm in the direction the formation elder had vanished. Boom! This palm strike caused the empty space to tremble violently, as if it had struck something. Over there. Don't let him escape. The Jingqi League experts were invigorated, and they turned to the place the formation elder had vanished. Their dantians trembled and sword qi, saber qi, finger qi, and palm qi rumbled toward the formation elder. However, the next moment, something that shocked everyone happened. Before their attacks could land, all the arrows and pebbles seemed to be drawn in by some invisible force, forming a massive vortex that howled toward the Jingqi League experts. Boom boom boom. There was a series of explosions as the sword qi, saber qi, finger qi, and palm qi fired by the Jingqi League experts were blasted apart by the tens of thousands of arrows and pebbles. Even more arrows continued on toward the Jingqi League experts. How could this be? This scoundrel can actually control the energy of the Origin Immortal formation. The Jingqi League experts paled in shock, their eyes almost popping out of their sockets. No one would have thought that the unremarkable dwarf elder would be so powerful. He could reverse the power within the formation and turn it against him. Careful! The Jingqi League experts pushed out their stellar energy to block the arrows and pebbles. Unlike before, this round of arrows and pebbles was clearly much stronger, causing their wrists to go numb and their energies to tremble. In the distance, another vortex formed in the air, and a second round of arrows and pebbles followed. Damn it! Retreat! The Jingqi League experts panicked at this sight and hurriedly retreated. They had originally been pursuing the formation elder, but now, They were retreating even faster than they had chased. "You little bastards! Come, come, hurry and kill this old man." In a small formation several feet wide, the formation elder looked at the wretched state of the Righteous Alliance experts and heartily laughed in satisfaction. He was not skilled in martial arts, and though he was not too weak, he was clearly inferior to the evil emperor, Song Yuanyi, and even Sikong Yuanjia and many of the Zhengqi League elders. The martial world was a dangerous place, and if one did not have a few tricks up their sleeves, their cultivation level was far from enough to traverse the world. These five-colored pebbles were one of the formation elder's tricks. In his previous adventures, the formation elder had been trapped in the formation. Although he had not been able to see through the principles of the origin immortal formation, he had still been able to study many of its secrets. This, combined with his own mastery of formations, allowed the formation elder to reverse the formation's energy to a certain extent and use it to deal with the Zhengqi League experts. Everyone has the right to punish the evil path. Everyone work together and exterminate this little demon. Meanwhile, the battle between Wang Chong, Sikong Yuanjia, and the Zhengqi League elders had reached its most intense level. The Zhengqi League elders worked with Sikong Yuanjia to attack Wang Chong from all sides, countless torrents of stellar energy howling toward him. Such an offensive was enough to make anyone pale in fright. This was especially true for Wang Chong, who was on the verge of cultivation defect. His strength was greatly diminished, and he was in grave danger. But even so, Wang Chong remained fearless. Heavenly Mandate Battle Armor, Vast Heaven-Earth Art, Art of God and Demon Obliteration, Void Movement Technique. In a flash of light, Wang Chong's body was covered in the black Heavenly Mandate Battle Armor, and then he used the Great Yin-Yang Heaven Creation Art. At the same time, he flicked his fingers, unleashing slender but sharp strands of sword chi of God and demon obliteration. Most frightening of all was the void movement technique that Wang Chong had obtained from the man in black. Wang Chong had not fully comprehended it at the start, but the most frightening thing about it was that he could comprehend it in the middle of battle. At the start, Wang Chong's void movement technique was extremely clumsy and full of openings. He had only been able to block the attacks of Sikong Yuanjia and the others by relying on the terrifying defensive power of the Heavenly Mandate Battle Armor. But soon, Wang Chong's void movement technique became more and more proficient. Under the pressure of battle, Wang Chong's void movement technique began to flash through his mind, and he began to comprehend it in the middle of battle. This sort of practical method allowed him to advance much faster than fumbling around on his own. Sikong Yuanjia and the Zhengqi League elders had been able to keep track of Wang Chong at the start and attack him. But as the battle progressed, Wang Chong's movements became faster and faster, more and more ethereal. Chapter 1427. How could this scoundrel be so powerful? How can so many of us be unable to do anything to him? Sikong Yuanjia had been ambitious at the start, wanting to capture the little demon Wang Chong in one fell swoop. But as the battle progressed, he grew more and more alarmed. After 5 minutes, he was no longer able to see Wang Chong. Cold sweat poured down Sikong Yuanjia's back. Before the opening of the Origin Immortal Mountain, Wang Chong had single-handedly withstood the attacks of Song Yuanyi and the Black Yin ancestor. Sikong Yuanjia had thought little of this, but only now did he realize just how terrifying this little demon was. This pressure followed him like a shadow, making it hard for him and the other elders of the Zhengqi League to breathe. All of them had their eyes wide open as they fought with all their might. At this moment, no one knew that in another place, several black figures were looking down at the entire formation from above. They were frowning deeply. "My lord, this demonic emperor is too powerful. We've already moved Song Yuanyi over, and even sent his subordinates to the stop gate. But we still can't do anything to them." A figure on the left said in deep shock. They had originally believed that drawing over a titan of the martial arts world like Song Yuanyi would be enough to suppress the demonic emperor. But reality proved that they had been too naive. When two tigers fight, one must be wounded. No matter how strong that demonic emperor is, there is a limit. Since Song Yuanyi can't deal with him, let's move that person as well. The leader of the group said, his hands held behind his back. Hearing this, the other figures trembled violently, a hint of panic faintly appearing in their eyes. But my lord, one of the figures, his forehead beaded with sweat, hurriedly tried to argue. This formation uses the power of the world and has its own set of rules. Even we only have a portion of the authority over it. If we change it too much or go against the rules of the formation, not only will we not be able to trap these people, we might even end up damaging the formation. If anything goes wrong, we might lose control of this formation in the future. Everything had a price. Even they couldn't change the array without a limit. Do as I say. Change the mechanisms of the Qian Palace and the Sun Palace, and have them move to the southeast. This way the losses will be minimized. At most, it will only damage part of the formation's functions, not to the extent of destroying the formation. The leader's voice was unquestionable. Yes. The few of them hesitated for a moment before answering and leaving. The battle in the stop gate grew more and more intense. The demonic Emperor Old Man and Song Yuanyi, Wang Chong and Sikong Yuanjia, the Formation Elder, and the Righteous Alliance experts. All of these battles were reaching a fever pitch. Moreover, as time passed, the mechanisms of the stop gate grew more and more formidable. Of the 8 great gates, the stop gate's mechanisms were the most unique. At the start, the attacks weren't that powerful, and many martial artists could deal with them on their own. Thus, they believed that the stop gate was only this dangerous. But few people knew that the stop gate's killing power was linked to time. As time passed, the attacks of the stop gate would become more and more powerful. At the start, these attacks might have been like scratching an itch through one's boot. But as time went on, they became like daggers on one's back, difficult to block. Thwish thwish thwish. Amidst the piercing sound of the flute, countless arrows rained down. At the start, each arrow had been equivalent to the attack of a profound martial realm expert. But now, they had been strengthened to the peak of the profound martial realm. Under this dense barrage of attacks, the group's stellar energy was rapidly being consumed, and the experts of the Zhengqi League were the first to feel the immense pressure. Damn it! This formation is too dangerous. If this continues, we'll all die here. That old man is too despicable. He's hiding in the formation like a turtle. There's nothing we can do to him. Don't worry about him. Demonic Emperor Zhang Wenfu is too formidable. Let's go and help Elder Sikong capture that fake young Master Qingyang. Under the barrage of arrows and boulders, the group's auras became unstable and their faces paled. In the blink of an eye, they had all turned their attention to Wang Chong. Go. With this order, the experts of the Zhengqi League lunged forward. Countless streams of sword energy, finger energy, saber energy, and palm energy wrapped in surging stellar energy hurtling toward Wang Chong. These people followed suit and charged at Wang Chong with astonishing speed. Jumping clowns. In the air, Wang Chong's eyes gleamed with cold light. His body swayed, and the countless arrows and boulders around him, under the pull of the great Yin-Yang heaven creation art, made a circle in the air, and then began to fly back at the experts of the Zhengqi League. Careful, the group paled in fright, and before they could react, countless arrows were already flying toward them. In a flash, the stellar energy in the bodies of these carefully selected experts of the Zhengqi League began to be consumed at an astonishing rate. In a flash, they had fallen from the peak of the imperial martial realm to the profound martial realm, and then even to the true martial realm. Several of the Zhengqi League experts were nailed to the ground by Wang Chong's arrows. Wang Chong's control was exquisite, and all the arrows had pierced through their fingers, shoulders, thighs, and feet. Even though they had lost their fighting power, they had not lost their lives. Because of his relationship with Song Yuan, Wang Chong had left them some face. Rumble. Just when the battle was at its most intense, all of a sudden, the surrounding space shook violently, as if it had been struck by an invisible fist. The sounds of fighting quickly reached Wang Chong's ears. Kaiyil! Kaiyil! Wang Chong turned his head and saw a group of black-robed martial artists charging toward him from the southeast, their hands wielding sabers, swords, and halberds. The 5 Ancestor Alliance. Wang Chong's eyes widened as he recognized them. One Zhengqi League was hard enough to deal with, And Wang Chong had never imagined that the people of the Five Ancestor Alliance would appear. This is the Five Ancestor Alliance martial artists stared at the Righteous Alliance experts, and Wang Chong, the demonic emperor, and the other experts of the Five Ancestor Alliance stared speechlessly at each other. Careful! Soon, the sky was filled with arrows, and these people had no time to think about anything else. Clink-clang! The clashing of sabers and swords and the explosions of stellar energy filled the air. And in just a few moments, the rain of arrows around the stop gate had grown even more intense. Haha, Song Yuani, Zhang Wenfu. I didn't think that I would run into you like this. It's just that it's better to be on time than to arrive early. Alliance Lord Song, I've come to help you. At this moment, the strange laughter of an owl resounded through the air. Boom! A figure shot forward with astonishing speed toward demonic Emperor Zhang Wenfu and Song Yuani. Luo Qiyin, you're quite bold to dare appear in front of this old man. At this moment, a thunderous roar resounded through the air. The demonic Emperor old man turned his head, his eyes like lightning bolts as he glared at Black Yin ancestor Luo Qiyin. Buzz! Black Yin ancestor Luo Qiyin had been shooting toward the evil emperor, but when he saw the sharp look in the evil emperor's eyes, his heart thumped, and he came to a sudden stop in the air. A hint of panic and fear could be seen in the depths of his eyes. Once bitten by a snake, twice shy. The evil emperor's reputation in the martial arts world was far too terrifying, especially in the evil path. Neither the Black Yin ancestor, nor the myriad ghost ancestor, could compare to demonic Emperor Zhang Wenfu. In the era of demonic Emperor Zhang Wenfu's reign, the Black Yin ancestor and the myriad ghost ancestor were titans of the martial arts world, but they were almost completely shrouded in the demonic emperor's shadow. The demonic emperor's prestige was so fierce that after his dantian had been shattered and his cultivation technique scattered, all the titans of the evil path, including the myriad ghost ancestor, feared him. Luo Qiyin, you and Pale Wanchang dare to act so impudently in front of me? I know all your martial arts like the back of my hand. Do you want to challenge me? The evil emperor's voice boomed like thunder, tyrannical beyond compare. The fear on Luo Qiyin's face deepened, but he quickly sensed the gazes on him from behind. A thought flashed through the Black Yin ancestor's mind, and he immediately became enraged and bold. Zhang Wenfu, stop putting on airs and boasting. Your dantian has been shattered, and you no longer have the great yin-yang heaven creation art. Do you really think that you're still the demonic emperor of the past? Song Yuani, let's work together to kill the demonic emperor. Luo Qiyin's words were directed at the evil emperor, but towards the end, he indicated to Song Yuani that they should work together to deal with the demonic emperor. With a shrill howl, the Black Yin ancestor spread open his sleeves like a massive bat, roiling with evil energy as he lunged at demonic emperor Zhang Wenfu. Hand of the Black Man. When he was still several dozen zhang from the demonic emperor, the smoke behind the Black Yin ancestor parted, revealing a massive hand as black as ink and as large as a mountain. It shot toward demonic emperor Zhang Wenfu. Hand of the Black Man. This was one of the Black Yin ancestor's strongest techniques. Back when he was roaming the Eastern Sea, Luo Qiyin had inadvertently obtained a piece of extremely evil Xian metal. This Xian metal was imbued with thick yin energy and evil energy, and although no one knew its origins, Luo Qiyin had immediately realized that it was a treasure of the evil path. Moreover, he had forged it into a massive hand and called it the Hand of the Black Man. Each time this hand was used, it required the sacrifice of the blood of one's heart, so Luo Qiyin rarely used it. But there was no doubting its power. If he hadn't encountered a formidable foe like the demonic emperor, Luo Qiyin would not have so easily used it. Rumble! As the massive hand descended, the heavens and earth shattered and ghosts wailed and wolves howled. It was like countless mountains were crushing down on the demonic emperor. The enormous pressure was suffocating. Emperor descends from the heavens. Chapter 1428. His right hand's index and middle fingers were like swords, unleashing a violet energy several zhang long that stabbed toward the demonic emperor's Shanzhong acupuncture point. Song Yuani and Luo Qiyin, these two titans of the martial arts world, had immediately agreed to work together without too many words. Their tacit understanding far surpassed that of many martial arts experts who had worked together for 10-some years. With these two working together, one could easily imagine the pressure the evil emperor was under. Ancestor, work with Alliance Lord Song to kill the demonic emperor. Once we kill him, no one will be able to threaten our 5 Ancestor Alliance. The experts of the 5 Ancestor Alliance and the Jingqi League were greatly encouraged, but the final result was far from what they had hoped for. Boom boom boom. Countless bolts of energy, as tough as steel and blazing as blazing suns, exploded from the demonic emperor old man's body. These bolts of stellar energy were so powerful that they could pierce through metal and stone. Under the evil emperor's control, these bolts of stellar energy were like bolts of lightning, unleashing and unleashing at Luo Qiyin and Song Yuanyi at will. Not only that, origin energy gathered in the air, and countless bolts of stellar energy transformed into spears and halberds that attacked Luo Qiyin and Song Yuanyi from behind, on their shoulders and elsewhere. The evil emperor's attack style was completely different from that of Luo Qiyin and Song Yuanyi. Although his attacks seemed numerous and chaotic, if one looked carefully, one would see that each bolt of energy had been meticulously calculated. Moreover, his trajectory was extremely refined. Each attack aimed at the flaws in Luo Qiyin and Song Yuanyi's techniques, or the weakest points of their energy. Experts of the Black Yin ancestor and Song Yuanyi's level of cultivation were extremely experienced, making it almost impossible for them to leave behind any openings. But in front of a grandmaster like the evil emperor, the revered Black Yin ancestor, and Jingqi League Lord Song Yuanyi were clearly a head shorter, their fighting techniques incomparable. Boom! The Black Xianjin Grand Thunder brought with it the sound of rolling wind and thunder, as it struck towards the Baihui acupoint on the top of the evil emperor's head. At the same time, the old yin of the Xian Yin's body swayed, and he used the astral footsteps in midair to move diagonally to the side of the evil emperor. He slapped his palm down, causing countless broken arrows and boulders to fly up into the air. Combined with the surging stellar energy that the evil emperor emitted, they shot toward the evil emperor with mountain-toppling, sea-draining force. Rumble! Before the Black Yin ancestor could finish his attack, a thick milky white beam of stellar energy descended from the sky and crashed into the Black Yin ancestor's roiling flood of evil energy. In the blink of an eye, the black flood of evil chi that the Black Yin ancestor had unleashed vanished, as if it had been struck where it hurt. Swoosh! Soon after, the evil emperor's expression was calm as he pointed with his right index finger. Immediately, a bolt of energy as thick as a child's arm shot through the air towards the Black Yin ancestor's Huaixin acupoint. This acupoint should not have been fatal, but when the Black Yin ancestor saw the demonic emperor's finger, he immediately paled and retreated. Zhang Wenfu, take my all things immortal fist. At almost the same time, a cold and emotionless voice resounded in his ears. Song Yuanyi's expression was icy. Even as the Black Yin ancestor was being pushed back, he pressed forward and slowly punched at the demonic emperor. At first, this punch seemed light and slow, so much so that its every movement could be seen clearly. But in reality, this punch was incredibly fast, and even more frightening was the power contained within it. As Song Yuanyi punched, the air around him began to wrinkle. It did not feel like a fist, but more like a vicious beast, piercing through space and time with astonishing speed to attack. Not only that, when Song Yuanyi punched, the eternal spring emperor behind him seemed to come to life, its eyes shining with a piercing light, as if about to swallow a person whole. And Song Yuanyi's surroundings were filled with exuberant vitality. Countless illusions of flowers and grass appeared in the air, and surged toward the demonic emperor. But before these flowers and grass could fully bloom, a thick and somber aura surged out like a tide, sweeping toward the evil emperor. All things immortal fist. This was one of the supreme techniques of the Eternal Spring Mantra, the Eternal Spring Mantra. Moreover, it was a power that could only be used after one had cultivated to the highest realm of the Eternal Spring Mantra and summoned the Eternal Spring Emperor. Its meaning was that spring gave birth to all things, and when the vitality reached its peak, life would turn into death, transforming into a thick and somber aura. It was like how the vitality of all things reached its peak in the summer, and then it would be followed by autumn and winter, when all trees would wither. When the moon waned, it would be full, and when the moon was full, it would overflow. Since ancient times, this had always been the case. The all things immortal fist was the same. Once one was hit, the somber aura of life and death would surge into one's body, attacking one's meridians, and even the gods would not be able to save one. In the past, those who were hit by the all things immortal fist all died suddenly. But although this technique was powerful, the price it had to pay was great. Song Yuanyi did not hesitate to use this technique, even at the cost of his own blood essence. It was obvious that he was determined to kill the demonic emperor, and he wanted to kill him here and now. Wang. But in the face of Song Yuanyi's shocking technique, the evil emperor looked at him disdainfully, not dodging or evading. Boom! The hundreds of milky white rays of energy around the demonic emperor folded like a folding fan, merging into one, forming a thick beam of energy that blocked Song Yuanyi's attack in a flash. At the same time, the demonic emperor's left hand moved, and he pointed a finger at the left eyebrow of the eternal spring emperor, the clone behind Song Yuanyi. Whoosh! At this sight, the previously composed Song Yuanyi, who had been defending the demonic emperor elder with no intention of backing down, finally lost his composure and retreated like a bolt of lightning. Song Yuanyi, for you to have cultivated the eternal spring mantra to this level, you have already surpassed your master. At least, not even your master was able to do it. However, your eternal spring mantra is still a little lacking. Only when you can refine that gap between your eyebrows will you have the right to call yourself a lone Taoist before this old man. The evil emperor's expression was calm, but it was precisely this calmness that gave off an even more impressive and domineering aura. In the face of the Black Yin ancestor and the Zhengqi League Lord, two supreme experts of the present age, the demonic emperor had not only withstood their attacks, he had even managed to take on both of them at the same time. As the demonic emperor feared by all in the martial arts world, the evil emperor knew almost all the martial arts of the martial arts world like the back of his hand. Whether it was the eternal spring mantra of the Zhengqi League Lord, the Black Yin ancestor's hand of the black butterfly, or any other evil martial arts, the demonic emperor had seen them all as if they were flowers in the palm of his hand. Needless to say, the peerless technique of the myriad spirit sea art had already reached the acme of perfection in the hands of the evil emperor. The power of this technique was secondary. More importantly, it had comprehended the origin of all energy. The evil emperor's gaze was as penetrating as a candle. Even experts like the Zhengqi League Lord Song Yuanyi and Luo Qiyin could see through their martial arts and find the flaws in their stellar energy. Others might have needed to use 120% of their energy against these two titans of the martial arts world. But for the demonic emperor Zhang Wenfu, 70% was enough. All the disciples of the Zhengqi League and Five Ancestor Alliance paled at this sight. 2 years was not a very long time, and anyone with the slightest bit of strength in the martial arts world would have heard of the demonic emperor Zhang Wenfu's dreadful reputation. They had all believed that the demonic emperor's dantian had been shattered, and that he was at the end of his tether. But to their surprise, Zhang Wenfu was even more terrifying now that his dantian had been shattered. Who can still contend against him? Everyone was seized by fear, their legs trembling as they involuntarily backed up, subconsciously trying to distance themselves from this demon of the evil path. Not good. Master won't be able to last much longer. At this moment, when the situation seemed to be in their favor, only Wang Chong looked at his master with a hint of worry in his eyes. Wang Chong had also learned the myriad spirit sea art, so he understood all the characteristics of this technique. Wang Chong could sense that when his master's stellar energy flowed through the Shengyang point on his left hand, it had clearly trembled. In this intense battle, stellar energy had gone berserk. This sort of trembling was like a drop of water falling into the ocean, so unnoticeable that it was impossible to notice. But Wang Chong could clearly sense that his master's stellar energy was rapidly being consumed. He probably wouldn't be able to last much longer. A shattered dantian, is completely different from having one's cultivation scattered. Cultivating the myriad spirit sea art only requires scattering one's cultivation, but Master's Dantian has been shattered. Against the combined might of Song Yuanyi and Luo Qiyin, his myriad spirit sea art will show a flaw in at most 8 minutes, making it difficult to maintain. Wang Chong was extremely worried. After all, Song Yuanyi and Luo Qiyin were top-class experts of the current era. Even his master would find it very difficult to fight 1 against 2. Not only that, after cultivating the void movement technique of the men in black, Wang Chong was like a fish in water in his battle with Xikong Yuanjia. But only Wang Chong himself knew that while he appeared to be at ease on the surface, he was actually on the verge of cultivation defect. In normal circumstances, Wang Chong could actually last for an hour, but against a powerful opponent, Wang Chong would immediately be under enormous pressure. The amount of time he could fight for was greatly reduced, and if he exceeded the time limit, his stellar energy would be diverted, and he would fall into cultivation defect. Wang Chong, kid, save me. I won't be able to last much longer. These scoundrels will quickly break my formation. At this moment, a voice as soft as the buzz of a mosquito rang out in his ear. Wang Chong was startled as he realized that it was the formation elder's voice. Wang Chong turned his head and realized that the formation elder was in dire straits. At some point, the Zhengqi League had dispatched an elder to deal with him. Chapter 1429. Damn it, you old scoundrel. Why do you keep attacking me? Within the stone formation, the formation elder glared at the Righteous Alliance elder, cold sweat on his forehead. He should have been able to control the power of the stop gate and protect himself within the formation. But for some reason, the connection between the 5 colored stones and the origin immortal formation had suddenly loosened, and everything began to spiral out of his control. The formation elder was also in danger. You useless trash. You're a disgrace. You can't even deal with an old dwarf who can only use formations. Outside the formation, an elder of the Zhengqi League was directing a group of Zhengqi League experts to attack the formation elder from all sides. Bang! An arrow as thick as a finger whistled toward him, but the Zhengqi League elder didn't even turn his head. With a wave of his hand, the arrow and the stone behind it were pulverized. Everyone attack. This old man won't be able to last for much longer. First capture him, then that little demon, and finally kill the demonic Emperor Zhang Wenfu, that great threat to the martial arts world. Under the command of the Zhengqi League elder, the Zhengqi League experts sped up their attacks on the formation elder. In the air, Wang Chong's eyes were like lightning, taking in everything that was happening. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before the 3 of them were defeated. Buzz! At this moment, Wang Chong's eyes flashed and he swiftly took action. Senior Zhou, the Qian Palace is in that direction. Wang Chong immediately used a secret technique to send his voice into the formation elder's ear. The northwest 6 units to the north. The formation elder was stunned at first, but he quickly replied. Senior Zhou, when you receive my message, immediately put aside the formation. I'll take you away. Okay. The formation elder was greatly reassured by these words. He quickly turned his gaze to the Zhengqi League elder outside the formation. Crack. He flicked his finger, and a pebble flew out. He slapped the head of the Zhengqi League elder. Old brat, this is what you get for going against me. As he cursed, he threw out another stone. On the other side, Wang Chong used the void escape technique to the extreme, constantly shifting and changing, at the same time rapidly calculating in his mind. There's not much time left. There's only one chance. 8, 7, 6, 5. Wang Chong silently counted down in his heart. When he counted to 5, he didn't hesitate in the slightest as he suddenly let out a thunderous roar. Now, as he spoke, Wang Chong thrust out a palm, firing off several bolts of god and demon obliteration sword qi that forced back Xikong Yuanjia and the Zhengqi League elders, and then charged toward the formation elder. Boom! The formation elder had been waiting for this moment, and when he heard Wang Chong's signal, he opened a small gap in the formation. Stop them! On the other side, the Righteous Alliance elder sensed something, paled, and immediately thrust out a palm. His reaction was already very fast, but Wang Cheng's speed was even faster. Rumble! Countless bolts of stellar energy, sword chi and saber chi, together with a hail of arrows and boulders, crashed into the place where the formation elder had been standing. In an explosion of stellar energy and a cloud of dust, the stone formation the formation elder had laid down was instantly destroyed. However, his figure was nowhere to be seen in the formation. Over there! A sharp-eyed Jingqi League expert noticed that Wang Cheng and the formation elder were charging towards Song Yuani and the Blacking ancestor. A mantis trying to stop a chariot, seeking death. Song Yuani noticed Wang Cheng, and with a disdainful gaze, he thrust a palm at Wang Cheng. The surging eternal spring stellar energy transformed into countless dragons and snakes that surged toward Wang Cheng with destructive energy. Vast heaven-earth art. Without even thinking, Wang Cheng pushed the great yin-yang creation art to its limit, and the sun and moon shot toward Song Yuani like bolts of lightning. Rumble! The two stellar energies collided, and just when Song Yuani was about to pursue Wang Cheng further, he suddenly felt his stellar energy slip, as if it had been drawn away by some sort of energy, creating a small gap in it. Song Yuani gasped in shock. He had cultivated the eternal spring mantra to the point where it was as immovable as a mountain, and as tough and dense as steel. But an unknown junior like Wang Cheng had managed to shake his stellar energy. Master, let's go. Wang Cheng did not hesitate. With a palm restraining the head of the Jingqi League, Song Yuani, he immediately shot toward the Qian Palace in the northwest. On the other side, there was a roar of air as two extremely powerful stellar qis collided heavily. Ish! A figure flashed by, and the demonic emperor was gone. Although he didn't know what Wang Cheng's plan was, the demonic emperor had almost unreservedly trust in his disciple. Cheng, you go first. I'll stay behind. The evil emperor sternly said as he followed Wang Cheng toward the Qian Palace. Song Yuani, hurry. Don't let him get away. This master and disciple won't be able to last for long. The Blacking ancestor Luoqin harshly said. His eyes were fixed in front of him as he moved forward at lightning speed. Song Yuani said nothing, his expression as cold and aloof as ever. But he was even a little faster than the Blacking ancestor. However, before the two of them could give chase, the void trembled, and tens of thousands of energy waves, as dense as a forest, pierced through metal and cracked stone, and shot toward the two of them with a monstrous momentum. This was the evil emperor's myriad spirit sea art. You won't be able to escape. The Blacking ancestor clenched his teeth, and made no attempt to dodge. Instead, he circulated his jinqi and forcefully withstood the blow. Meanwhile, Song Yuani had pushed his eternal spring stellar energy to its limit, narrowly avoiding the majority of the myriad spirit sea art, and creating a stellar energy mirror for himself as he slid forward. The two of them used their own methods to avoid the demonic emperor's attack, and behind them, Xikong Yuanjia, Ouyang Changheng, and the other experts of the Jingqi League were in hot pursuit. Boom boom. The air trembled as Song Yuani and the Blacking ancestor pursued. It's useless. You can't escape. In the rear, Song Yuani's eyes flashed with a harsh light. The two sides were extremely close, and with Song Yuani's speed, he could catch up in the blink of an eye. Chonga, what do we do now? The demonic emperor old man suddenly sent a secret message to Wang Cheng as the group traveled as fast as lightning. The terrain of the Origin Immortal Formation was very complex, and in their current situation, they would find it very difficult to escape. Relax. They can't catch us, Wang Cheng sternly said, his eyes shining with unprecedented sharpness as he mentally counted down. 3, 2, 1. At the count of 1, the surrounding space shuddered as Wang Cheng led the evil emperor and the formation elder into the next formation. Where do you think you're going? An explosion came from behind them. Song Yuani and the Blacking ancestor had also caught up. The trio could even hear the faint breathing of the two behind them. 5 steps, 4 steps, 3 steps. Just when it seemed like a battle was about to break out, an invisible hand grabbed Wang Cheng's group and took them away. A moment later, with a crash like a comet, Wang Cheng's group vanished. The last thing Song Yuani's group saw was Wang Cheng turning his head, that bizarre smile on his lips. Song Yuani, and the Blackeen ancestor followed them in. As they watched the trio vanish without a trace, the rest of the group revealed expressions of extreme shock. Damn it! The Blackeen ancestor was the first to charge in, and when he saw the empty surroundings, he clenched his teeth, his eyes brimming with hatred. There was not a single person in sight. Wang Chong, the formation elder, and the demonic emperor Zhang Wenfu had actually vanished from right under their noses. Foul brat! If this ancestor runs into you again, I'll definitely kill you. Bastard! 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 The Blackeen ancestor's roar resounded through the air. But a moment later, the Blackeen ancestor's voice came to a halt. There was an explosion, and the earth crumbled. Countless attacks came in from all directions, as the attacks of the formation finally began. At this moment, unlike Song Yuani and the Blackeen ancestor who were under attack by the array, the space around the trio was calm and tranquil. At the last moment, Wang Chong's group had finally returned to the rest gate. How dangerous! The formation elder patted his chest as he walked out from behind Wang Chong. Just a moment ago, Song Yuani's group had been so close to catching up. Song Yuani, the Blackeen ancestor, and many experts of the righteous and evil path would have been very difficult to stop. It really was too dangerous. It's fortunate that Wang Chong managed to calculate that we only have 3 seconds before the gate of healing passes by us. And we managed to grasp this final sliver of hope. Even now, the formation elder felt his heart palpitate at the thought of what had just happened. Chonger, how are you? At this moment, the evil emperor turned his head and strode toward Wang Chong. Just now, Wang Chong had used his formidable calculative abilities to help them escape danger. It had seemed easy, but the evil emperor had seen it all clearly. Wang Chong's face was ghastly pale, his blood in turmoil, and his meridians were in a state of chaos. He was not as relaxed as he appeared. The evil emperor's dantian had been shattered, and he could not fight for long, but Wang Chong could suffer cultivation defect at any moment. Chapter 1430. Master, be at ease. I'm fine. Wang Chong waved his hand in a reassuring gesture, but cold sweat was pouring down his forehead. He was under immense pressure fighting the experts of the Jingqi League and Group 5 alone. In this aspect, he was in even greater danger than his master, the evil emperor. I've already calculated the time. We're already at the edge of the range of energy I can use. If we continue, we might really be in danger. We just need to rest a little, and we'll be able to recover. Wang Chong sternly said. Upon hearing these words, the demonic emperor old man finally breathed a long sigh of relief. He was extremely familiar with this disciple of his, and he would never lie about something like this. There was no question that Wang Chong had calculated everything before taking action. This was one of the aspects of Wang Chong that he was most proud of. The evil emperor nodded. Rest for a while. The rest gate is relatively safe, and we've just experienced an attack. We should be safe for the time being. Correct. The two of you should cultivate in peace. I'll stand guard for you. As the formation elder spoke, he waved his hands, sending stones flying around Wang Chong and the demonic emperor old man. With each stone, there was a tremor, and 10 some stones immediately formed a simple formation around the demonic emperor old man and Wang Chong. Wang Chong nodded, and immediately sat down with the evil emperor to rest. Time slowly passed, and screams came from the formation as countless martial artists were turned to dust. But compared to those screams, the area around Wang Chong was abnormally calm. My lord, we failed again. That young man seems even more formidable than the dwarf elder. I didn't think that not even Song Yuani and the Blackeen ancestor working together would be able to deal with them. At the same time, in another location, 3 figures were staring down at the gate of healing, where Wang Chong and the others were. They had changed the rules of the formation, and even lured Song Yuani and Luo Qiyin over. After using so many tricks, they had still managed to escape. The surroundings were completely silent. The leader of the group stood motionlessly in front of the 2 of them. His eyes were fixed on the 3 people in the healing gate, with an incomparably cold gaze. An austere and dangerous aura burst forth from his body. As soon as the two attendants came into contact with him, they shivered and immediately shut their mouths. The two of them were well aware that at some point in time, Wang Chong's group of 3 had replaced all the people from the other sects who had entered the array formation, becoming a thorn in the leader's side. Wang Chong circled around and actually returned to the gate of healing. To the crowd, this was a huge humiliation. Pass down my order, activate the formation, and shake them out of the healing gate. I want to push them step by step into the gate of death, and have them burn to ashes in the array. After a long while, the leader suddenly spoke, his voice as cold as ice and austere as ever. As he spoke, he clenched his fists, the joints of his knuckles cracking with a frightening sound. But my lord, the gate of healing has already been turned around. We've already used the power of the array, so there's no way to pursue them. At least for the next 12 hours, we won't be able to touch them. Forcefully reversing the array will involve too many areas. If we do so, the entire array might collapse. The two figures were terrified. Buzz! Hearing their words, the leader's expression froze, and the atmosphere instantly froze. His thick killing intent seemed to freeze, and a hint of astonishment appeared in the leader's eyes. It was like he had punched empty air, unable to vent his anger in the slightest. Finally, let them live for another 12 hours. After 12 hours, activate the seal. I want all these people of the sects to be annihilated. The leader viciously declared as he stared in the direction of Wang Chong's group. With a shake of his robe, he left his position. Time slowly passed, and several hours passed in the blink of an eye. After a long while, Wang Chong finally opened his eyes. At almost the same time, nearby, Wang Chong's master, the evil emperor, was also slowly ending his cultivation, his complexion clearly ruddy. Wonderful! You've finally recovered. The formation elder happily walked up to the master and disciple's side. Wang Chong, kid, how is your condition? The formation elder asked Wang Chong. I'm fine now. Wang Chong waved his sleeve and calmly stood up. His condition had never been very serious, and his energy had not run amok. With some rest, he would quickly recover. Ha, good. Now we can think of a way to leave this place. With your calculations, and my understanding of formations, we only need to find the life gate to leave. That's right. There's no origin immortal mountain here. Only a dangerous formation. We have to leave this place. The deep and dignified voice of the evil emperor came from his side. They had come to the northwest to find the origin immortal art for Wang Chong and treat his cultivation defect. But it now appeared that there was no origin immortal art here. Moreover, the martial artists of both the righteous and evil sects had gathered here, making it impossible to remain here for long. The demonic emperor also began to consider retreating. To their surprise, Wang Chong shook his head at the pair, his expression extremely grave. Master Senior Zhou, this matter isn't that simple. It won't be that easy to leave through the life gate. At the very least, those people won't let us leave. Buzz! The demonic emperor and the formation elder glanced at each other in shock at Wang Chong's words. Chonga, what do you mean by this? The evil emperor was the first to speak, his brow deeply furrowed in confusion. That's right. What do you think they mean? The formation elder also stared at Wang Chong. He had interacted with Wang Chong for some time now, and the formation elder was well aware that Wang Chong was not the sort to speak without thinking. There had to be a reason behind his words. Senior Zhou, do you remember what you said before about someone interfering with this formation? Wang Chong did not directly answer, instead turning to the formation elder. That was just my guess, because there's something wrong with the operation of the formation. Kid Wang Chong, why are you asking about this? Could it be? As the formation elder stared at Wang Chong, he vaguely remembered something, and his eyes went wide in disbelief. Your guess is correct. There truly is a third faction controlling the formation against us, against all the martial artists of the righteous and evil paths. What? The pair were flabbergasted by these words. Chonga, are you sure? The evil emperor raised his brow, his expression completely different from before. If there was a third faction controlling the formation and luring over countless martial artists of the righteous and evil paths, the nature of the matter would be completely different. Kid Wang Chong, do you know what you're saying? For at least several hundred years, no one has ever obtained the origin immortal art. Countless martial artists have pursued it wave after wave, precisely because the origin immortal art is ownerless. If it's as you say, then all the rumors in the outside world are fake. From start to finish, this was all a scam, a scheme. The formation elder was extremely agitated. He had no interest in martial arts, only the origin immortal lord's heavenly tome of ancient formations. As a formation master, this was his lifelong pursuit. If the origin immortal art was fake, then the heavenly tome of ancient formations was also likely fake. The formation elder's face instantly turned ghastly pale. Senior Zhou, let's not talk about the origin immortal art for now. After all, the treasure map to the origin immortal art has been passed down for a long time, so this rumor isn't necessarily groundless. But there's no doubt that someone has been secretly controlling this formation this entire time. Wang Chong gravely said. In front of the two teachers, Wang Chong did not conceal anything, and immediately spoke of the suspicions in his mind. Remember when we were forced out by the rest gate? The entire formation clearly changed as a result. In addition, the healing gate should have been safe, but we were attacked twice in the past 12 hours. None of this is normal, but this is just suspicious and doesn't mean anything. After all, the origin immortal formation is an ancient formation left behind by the origin immortal lord. No one knows how the formation operates or what special traits it has. I said that the formation is strange only based on past experiences, but that's not necessarily correct. The formation elder said. Suspicion and certainty were two completely different concepts. Once there was certainty, the nature of the matter was completely different. If that's the case, then it naturally doesn't mean anything. But Master, Senior Zhou, do you remember when we ran into Song Yuanyi and the Jingqi League not long after we were forced out of the rest gate? Wang Chong sternly said. Chong'er, even this doesn't mean anything. Song Yuanyi entered the formation with us, so it's very normal for us to run into each other. The evil emperor couldn't help but frown. It was clear that he did not completely agree with Wang Chong on this point. If that's the case, then it naturally doesn't mean anything, but what about the Black Yin ancestor? Wang Chong asked his master, the evil emperor. At that moment, his eyes were so profound that they seemed to be able to see through all secrets. Running into Song Yuanyi in the formation can be considered a coincidence, but running into the Black Yin ancestor at the same time as running into Song Yuanyi? Can that still be called a coincidence? What are the chances of running into two titans of the righteous and evil sects in this formation? Chapter 1431. That's right. Although the chances of encountering Song Yuanyi and the members of the Jingqi League in the formation are rather small, it's entirely possible. But for Song Yuanyi and Luo Qiyin to appear in the stop gate at the same time is no mere coincidence. The evil emperor's brow furrowed even deeper, while the formation elder appeared rather uneasy. It truly can't be explained as coincidence, but Wang Chong boy, if it really is as you say, then everything is completely different. Moreover, based on what happened just now, we've probably become a thorn in their side. Otherwise, they wouldn't have used the Jingqi League and the Five Ancestor Alliance to deal with us. The formation elder had an extremely uneasy expression, and if one looked carefully, one could see that his forehead was beaded with cold sweat. Furthermore, if I'm not mistaken, it's very likely that it's because I've seen through part of their formation that we've become their targets. The demonic emperor was far from the only top-class experts who had entered the origin immortal formation. There had also been Song Yuanyi and Luo Qiyin. If it had just been the demonic emperor, Wang Chong and the others would not have received such special care. It was clear that he had implicated them. This fact made the formation elder feel extremely guilty. Senior Zhou, it's not that simple. If not for you, we would have all been trapped in the formation until our deaths. Those people paid any price to draw out Song Yuanyi and Luo Qiyin precisely because Senior threatened them. As long as Senior was present, they wouldn't be able to threaten me, Master, or anyone else in the formation. Thus, it wasn't Senior who implicated us, but Senior who allowed us to be safe. Wang Chong sternly said. Is that so? The formation elder's jaw dropped in shock. He had only been thinking about how he had implicated Wang Chong and the evil emperor. But he had never imagined that there was something more important. It's always been like this. Wang Chong smiled and nodded. He was not saying these words purely to comfort the formation elder. If not for the formation elder, he would never have been able to calculate the pattern of the formation's operation. The more these people do this, the more it proves that they are plotting something. At the very least, they have ulterior motives. If things go wrong, the people of the righteous and evil martial arts world, and the righteous and evil sects will all be trapped here. No matter what, we must not let this happen. Wang Chong said in a deep voice. Those who could appear here were all experts of the martial arts world. To Wang Chong, this was a force that could not be underestimated. A great calamity was coming, and a great crisis was waiting for this world. These sect martial artists would be an extremely precious resistance force in the future. No matter what grudges these sects had with each other, no matter if they were good or evil, these people would be the core strength that could change the fate of humanity and the world. Senior, you can't let these people hide in the back so easily. They're toying with us. Let's join hands and destroy this formation. We'll give them a taste of our power. Haha, good. This kid is right. Let's work together and destroy this formation. Wang Chong's words stimulated the formation elder's pride. He had studied formations for several decades, but never before had anyone toyed with him like this. The formation elder was proud and confident. No matter who these people were, he could not allow them to sit there peacefully. Senior Zhou, based on what we've seen so far, they can basically change the formation every 12 hours and force us out of the rest gate. From the looks of it, we have 4 hours at most. Wang Chong's eyes were wise and bright. There are only 2 ways to break the formation. One is to leave through the life gate, and the other is to destroy the core of the formation. Both of these methods can get us out of here. That's right. There really are only these 2 methods. The formation elder looked at Wang Chong, stroked his beard, and gave an appreciative nod. Although Wang Chong had only been studying formations with him for a very short time, his comprehension ability was extremely high. These 2 methods were truly the best way to deal with their current predicament. Leaving through the life gate can only save the 3 of us, while the others will remain trapped in the formation. This is also the easiest way to leave. The other method is to enter the core of the formation and destroy it, disintegrating the formation at its core. This is the most difficult, and there's an extremely high chance that we'll end up in the death gate. The closer we get to the core, the greater the danger, and we'll have to face the power of the entire formation. As Wang Chong's mind raced, he paused for a moment and then continued. But as long as there's a third faction controlling everything from the shadows, we can forget about leaving through the life gate. In the end, even if we do everything we can, we'll still die here. Relatively speaking, destroying the core of the formation is much more difficult and dangerous. But this is the most direct method. Although I don't want to admit it, this truly is the only method we have at present. The formation elder said after a long moment of silence. He glanced at Wang Chong, a hint of worry in his eyes. He naturally knew how to break the formation, but the risks involved were far too great. Ordinary formations only had 1 layer. Just like him, a few stones could form a formation. A more powerful formation could be divided into 3 layers. A more powerful ancient formation could have 5, 6, or even 7 layers from the inside to the outside. A 7-layer formation was already considered top class, but this Origin Immortal formation had 9 layers. This formation was unique, its complexity and power surpassing any formation the formation elder knew of. It could truly be called the world's #1 formation. Breaking it was easier said than done, although the formation elder had said that he would work together with Wang Chong. Deep within his heart, not even he was confident in his ability to break the formation. Formations were not static. They were constantly changing, possessing far too many variables. As the breaker of the formation, one not only needed to see the changes in the formation at the moment, the changes in the next second, and the changes in the second after that. One would also need to calculate the changes over an hour, perhaps even longer. Moreover, the changes in the 9 layers of the formation were all different, and linking them together required calculations on the order of 1,000,000, perhaps even more. The formation elder knew that he could not do all this in such a short amount of time. Senior Zhou, the two of us will work together. You will continue to calculate the changes in the 9 palaces, while I will be responsible for the changes in the formation positions. Life, pain, rest, stop, view, death, alarm, and open are my specialty. Wang Chong's voice was firm and powerful. This, Wang Chong, kid, I have to warn you that the calculation of formations is no trifling matter. This involves calculations on the order of 1,000,000. The formation elder uneasily said, it's only on the order of 1,000,000. I didn't ask. Wang Chong smiled and made a reassuring gesture. The formation elder's words were already at the tip of his tongue when they came to a sudden halt. He could only stare in a daze at Wang Chong, unable to say a single word. Wang Chong's calm and composed smile made it very difficult for the formation elder to retort. This fine, we'll do as you say. In the end, the formation elder swallowed back all his doubts. Wang Chong paid no attention to what the formation elder was thinking. He straightened his body, scanned the gray space around him, and then closed his eyes. A moment later, an enormous wave of psychic energy surged out of his body and spread across the formation. While in the formation, Wang Chong had realized that the origin immortal formation had an interference effect on all kinds of senses, but compared to the interference of tangible energy, Wang Chong's psychic energy was the least affected. 1, 2, 3. Wang Chong used his psychic energy to sense the structure of the formation and imprinted it in his mind. In the psychic world, the entire formation was gray and indistinguishable. Moreover, his psychic energy could only extend for several thousand meters before reaching its limit. In other words, Wang Chong had no way of seeing the entire formation. This is enough. Wang Chong muttered to himself as he imprinted the incomplete formation in his mind. At the start, Wang Chong really might have been helpless in this situation, but as he went from the rest gate to the view gate, from the view gate to the stop gate, and then back to the rest gate, Wang Chong had been practicing his understanding of formations, while also deepening his understanding of the origin immortal formation, comprehending many of the rules governing the formation's operation. Although his psychic energy could only capture the incomplete world of the formation, Wang Chong could use his understanding of the rules governing the formation to deduce the rest. Rumble. Around 5 minutes later, Wang Chong's mind began to rumble, and as this rumbling continued, the incomplete origin immortal formation in Wang Chong's mind began to operate according to some sort of rule. Boom! 1 formation, 2 formations, 3 formations. Like building blocks, more and more formation gates appeared out of thin air, attaching themselves to the incomplete formation in Wang Chong's mind. In a few short moments, the incomplete formation in Wang Chong's mind began to grow in an inconceivable manner. It started from the left and right ends, and then from the outside to the inside, constantly growing. During this entire process, Wang Chong's mind was constantly calculating, and with each successful calculation, a small formation gate would appear in the origin immortal formation in his mind. Time slowly passed, and the origin immortal formation in Wang Chong's mind became more and more complete. On the other side, while Wang Chong was analyzing the origin immortal formation, the formation elder was also performing complex calculations. Unlike Wang Chong, the formation elder simply sat cross-legged on the ground, his left hand forming a spell, while his right hand drew concentric circles on the ground, and his mouth began to chant. Qian Palace, Qin Palace, Zhen Palace, Zhen Palace, Central Palace, Sun Palace, Li Palace, Kuan Palace, and Dui Palace. The positions of the 9 palaces were generally fixed. Chapter 1432. Although the calculations for the 9 palaces were complex, they were more of a test of the formation's comprehensive abilities. In terms of calculations, they were far less complex than Wang Chong's. And this was precisely what the formation elder was skilled at. Time slowly passed, and the rest gate was quiet. The demonic emperor old man also said nothing, only took 2 steps forward and stood by the pair's side, silently standing guard. Finally, an hour later, with a boom, Wang Chong completed the last incomplete formation gate in his mind. With this step complete, a massive, complete, and constantly revolving formation appeared in Wang Chong's mind. The formation was divided into more than 10,000 formation gates, and its complexity was unimaginable. But the formation was still missing one final piece: the 9 palaces. Buzz! Wang Chong's eyes flashed open, and a familiar and excited face appeared before him. Wang Chong, kid, you really succeeded? The formation elder asked, his eyes filled with excitement. Wang Chong said nothing, only grunted and gave a firm nod. This simple and minute movement caused the formation elder's eyes to widen in shock, and they were brimming with disbelief. Kid Wang Chong, let me ask you, based on our current position, how many formation positions is the closest view gate from us? In an hour, how many pain gates and alarm gates will it encounter? And what will happen in 4 hours? The formation elder suddenly asked. While he appeared calm on the surface, he was inwardly nervous. The origin immortal formation was constantly changing, and to calculate how many pain gates and alarm gates one would encounter, and how they would change after 4 hours would require millions of calculations. Not even the formation elder was confident in being able to do so. The closest view gate should be 107 formation positions away. In an hour, it will encounter 213 pain gates and 361 alarm gates. In 4 hours, it will be 1,876 positions away, and it will encounter 1245 pain gates, 3742 alarm gates, 4826 limit gates, and 357 rest gates. Wang Chong immediately said, a stern expression on his face. The formation elder was instantly struck dumb by Wang Chong's words. Then what about the life gate? How many changes will it take to get from the rest gate to the life gate? The formation elder asked. From our current position, we will need to pass through at least 14,832 formations to reach the life gate. But there is only one life gate, and it will constantly move. Only when we are in the outermost ring can we be called the life gate. And when the life gate moves from the outer ring to the inner ring, its nature will change, becoming the pain gate, rest gate, limit gate, alarm gate, and so on. As long as those people have the intention, once we enter the life gate, they will have the formation change, and the life gate will move, cutting off our chances of leaving. Thus, it's simply impossible for us to leave, Wang Chong sternly said. Elder Chen too stared in a daze at Wang Chong, momentarily at a loss for words. He had chosen these questions on a whim. Finding an answer in such a short amount of time would require hundreds of thousands of calculations. At the very least, not even he knew the exact location of the life gate. To find the only life gate among tens of thousands of formation gates, and its changes would require millions of calculations. Before meeting up with Wang Chong and the evil emperor, he had spent several hours calculating in the formation, but to no avail. But Wang Chong had managed to find the life gate in such a short amount of time. This was far too shocking. Elder Chen too didn't know if this was right or wrong. But there was one thing he was sure of. Wang Chong's ability to calculate had reached a level that would make many people sigh in amazement. This child's talent was simply unbelievable. In truth, it's not that complicated. As if knowing what the formation elder was thinking, Wang Chong faintly smiled and pointed at the ground. Then, he began to draw concentric circles on the ground. In the blink of an eye, a simple origin immortal formation had been added to the ground. All I need to do is project the structure of the origin immortal formation in my mind, and then activate the formation to perform the calculations. There's no need for such complicated calculations. To his surprise, the formation elder gave a long sigh when he saw the origin immortal formation on the ground. He looked at Wang Chong with a complicated expression, unable to speak for a long time. Calculations on the order of 1 million were truly complicated. But even more complicated was constructing a model of the origin immortal formation in his mind. The latter was far more difficult than the former. If he had been able to do all this, they might have already broken out of the formation. I finally believe that some people are born to study the Tao of formations. The formation elder sighed. Alas, this is not your goal. The words were on the tip of his tongue. But the formation elder glanced at the nearby demonic emperor and said nothing. It's about time. Kid. I'll teach you the transformation of the 9 palaces I calculated. As the formation elder spoke, he extended a finger, a milky white bolt of energy emerging from his fingertip. Next to the origin immortal formation model Wang Chong had drawn, he drew a model of the 9 palaces. There were 9 layers in total, corresponding to Wang Chong's origin immortal formation. When the 9 palaces and 8 gates were connected, they formed a complete origin immortal formation. The 9 palaces can change, as can the 8 gates, but only the position of the central palace remains unchanging, which is the core of the formation you speak of. Those people were able to control the formation and alter its operation, because they were borrowing the power of the core. If you can destroy that place, you can naturally destroy the formation. The formation elder drew back his finger and sternly said, "Understood." Wang Chong nodded. Looking away from the formation elder's 9 palaces model, he closed his eyes and became motionless. In his mind, the formation elder's 9 palaces model rapidly appeared. The 9 layers of the 9 palaces constantly changing as they fused with the origin immortal formation in Wang Chong's mind. The 9 palaces and 8 gates were the essence and foundation of the formation. Only when they were fused together would the true origin immortal formation be formed. But this involved a massive amount of calculations that required a certain amount of time. The formation elder and the evil emperor nodded at Wang Chong. Neither of them disturbed him, silently standing guard as they waited for the final moment. At this moment, 3 figures proudly stood in the center of the formation, looking down on the entire formation. One cannot see the true face of Mount Lu, because they are within the mountain. Trapped in the formation, it was almost impossible to see the true face of the formation. But from their vantage point, the 3 of them could clearly see the structure of the array, all the changes, and all the martial artists trapped within were under their watch. From their vantage point, they could even see the complex structure of the formation, its 9 layers and the beehive-like structure. "Are you ready?" The leader standing at the very front suddenly asked, his hands behind his back, a thick killing intent in his eyes. "My lord, everything is ready." The other 2 respectfully replied, "Very good." The leader looked down disdainfully, his cold face devoid of emotion. "Greed has its price. Let's make these people pay for their greed." Prepare to activate the highest level of the heavenly shadow net. Once the energy of the world beneath the formation is released, the power of the formation will be greatly boosted. Whether it's Song Yuanyi, Luo Qiyin, or the demonic emperor, they will be facing the energy that the formation has built up over thousands of years. I want all of them to die here. Yes. The 2 of them lowered their heads, reverence in their eyes. The heavenly shadow net was the formation's strongest power. Once activated, it would close the life gate, turning the origin immortal formation into an iron prison that would not appear until all the martial artists in the formation had been eliminated. This was an ability that would only be activated when a supreme expert appeared in the formation that was difficult to defeat. By using the vast universe layout, absorbing the power of heaven and earth, and absorbing the power of the warriors, the array formation's power would be greatly increased. When that happened, the warriors trapped in the array formation would not be facing ordinary array attacks, but the world itself. Even the strongest martial artist could not contend against the world. In addition, the leader in front of them shook his sleeve and suddenly extended a hand. On the back of the hand, there was a strange shell-type insect. This insect was about the size of a child's fist, and its entire body was golden like metal. On its back were several large black spots. It looked like a 7-starred ladybug, but it was also completely different. The golden insect was resting on the back of the leader's hand, motionless, as if it were sleeping. "Get ready. Release those golden armored stellar-piercing beetles as well." The leader's eyes were cold and emotionless as he spoke of the golden armored stellar-piercing beetles. Behind him, The two attendants shuddered when they saw the giant golden beetle. Fear was written all over their faces. Yes, yes, my lord. The two of them looked at the golden armored stellar-piercing beetle on the back of the leader's hand with fear in their eyes, as if this was their worst nightmare. However, the leader only smiled faintly. He looked ahead and sent out a wave of energy from his left hand, gently tapping the golden armored stellar-piercing beetle's mouth. In an instant, the dense, steel-like energy suddenly vanished. The originally motionless golden armored beetle absorbed the energy and shuddered. As if it had suddenly awakened, it spread its wings and slid off the leader's hand with astonishing speed. Then it disappeared into the formation. Kiki. A soft sound came from the leader's ear, but the golden beetle had already vanished. Chapter 1433. Buzz. After some time, Wang Chong opened his eyes. He had finally finished combining the 9 palaces and 8 gates, and his eyes snapped open. Success! The formation elder asked as he gazed at Wang Chong. Seeing Wang Chong nod, the formation elder's eyes brightened, a gratified look on his face. Not bad. After deducing this origin immortal formation, you basically have a complete grasp over how it operates, so it's very difficult for anything to harm you. However, you must pay attention to the fact that the formation you deduced will definitely differ from the real origin immortal formation, so you must remember not to be careless. In addition, they control everything from the shadows, and can alter the formation's operating patterns at any time. You must adapt to the situation and adapt to the situation. Understood? Wang Chong nodded. The formation he and the formation elder had created together could predict 97% of the variations. The remaining 3% would be up to Wang Chong to adapt to the situation. There's still an hour before the formation opens. You need to enter the core as soon as possible during this period of time. Otherwise, you'll be stuck in the outer circle of the formation. When that happens, there'll be no hope of breaking the formation. Senior, be at ease. It won't even take an hour. I've already calculated the shortest path to the core. It'll take around 10 minutes to reach the core. Chonga, I won't be going in with you. Your master knows nothing about formations, so not only will I not be able to help you, I'll even distract you. The demonic emperor old man walked over and said. A normal person would be worried for Wang Chong at a time like this, but the evil emperor was well aware that his disciple was different from others. He had experienced far more dangerous situations than this, situations that even the supreme experts of the martial arts world would find hard to imagine. In addition, this origin immortal formation was no trifling matter. It was constantly changing, and sometimes, a difference of just 1 second could cause the two of them to be separated and thrown into different formations. At that time, Wang Chong would be distracted and his plan completely ruined. This was also the reason why the evil emperor did not choose to go with Wang Chong. But in the next moment, the evil emperor walked to Wang Chong's side and suddenly reached out with his palm, pressing it on Wang Chong's shoulder. In an instant, a huge amount of energy rushed into Wang Chong's body like lightning. This energy was so strong that it quickly lay dormant in Wang Chong's dantian, storing it. Wang Chong was stunned for a moment before he understood something. This power has the same effect as a full-powered attack from me. It can help you at a critical moment. But remember, don't get caught up in a battle. You just need to destroy the formation. The evil emperor said with a hint of concern in his voice. Master, don't worry. I know what to do. Wang Chong bowed respectfully. When everything was ready, Wang Chong took a deep breath and looked ahead. Soon he stepped out of the formation. Buzz! The world around him changed as Wang Chong stepped out of the rest gate and into a strange space. But in the blink of an eye, there was a flash of light. Wang Chong raised his head and saw that his master, the evil emperor, and the formation elder were standing across from him, staring at him in shock. And his surroundings were exactly the same as the rest gate. The view gate. Wang Chong faintly smiled, not even glancing at his master or the formation elder. Of the 8 formation gates, the view gate was the most lethal, and also the least dangerous. As long as one could see through the illusion, they posed no threat. This was also the safest path, that Wang Chong had chosen from all the other formations. Without the slightest hesitation, Wang Chong closed his eyes and used his psychic energy to make his way to the next formation gate. In the second formation gate, rows of stone pillars so thick that it would take several people to encircle them were suspended several thousand meters in the air. The stone pillars trembled and then exploded toward Wang Chong, their momentum shocking to the extreme. But before the stone pillars could fall, Wang Chong had already calmly made his way to the next formation gate. His expression was calm, and his steps were leisurely strolling through the courtyard, devoid of any panic. More importantly, each of his steps seemed to have been carefully calculated. Bum bum bum. The stone pillars smashed into the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust. Wang Chong had long since vanished, entering the next formation gate. From the rest gate to the core of the formation, one had to pass through countless formation gates, and Wang Chong had done his best to choose the ones that posed little threat. But in order to reach the core of the formation as quickly as possible, and reduce the chances of being tossed out of the formation gate by that hidden vision, Wang Chong would sometimes choose a few relatively dangerous formation gates. But although it was dangerous, as long as he used the right method, Wang Chong could still leave before the formation did any harm, or pass through the formation gate at a minimal cost. Buzz! But when Wang Chong stepped into the next formation gate, the situation was somewhat different. The moment he stepped in, he immediately smelled the thick stench of blood. Wang Chong opened his eyes and saw countless corpses strewn across the ground. Some of them had their arms and legs smashed by the stone pillars, some had their chests pierced by arrows, some were blackened from being poisoned, and there were even some who had been attacking each other even as they died. But without exception, every single one of them had been grimacing in fear before they died. Wang Chong couldn't help but be shocked by this sight. It was clear that these people had all died to the formation controlled by that hidden vision. As he continued forward, more and more corpses appeared. The formation's harvesting speed is getting faster. Wang Chong couldn't help but feel a little sorry for these corpses. These people were all experts of the martial arts world, but alas, they had all died here. Moreover, Wang Chong could sense that the faction behind the Origin Immortal Formation was clearly intent on killing the martial artists here. If I don't think of a way to stop them, it won't be long before everyone dies here. Wang Chong picked up his pace. In his ears, the rumbling of the formation grew louder and louder. Countless formations whizzed past close by, then quickly moved into the distance. Wang Chong's mind was constantly calculating, as the illusory Origin Immortal Formation overlapped with the Origin Immortal Formation before him. Once the two completely merged, Wang Chong swiftly entered the next formation gate. "My lord, that brat's moving again." The moment Wang Chong moved, the three figures in the distant formation immediately noticed Wang Chong's movements. At almost the same time, they noticed the distant demonic emperor old man and the formation elder. "My lord, there's still a group of them that's biding their time. What should we do now?" One of the figures said. Wang Chong's group had originally been moving together, making it easier to deal with them, but now that they had split into two groups, they were instantly at a loss as to what to do. Focus on the little one. Throw him into the pain gate or the death gate. As for the demonic emperor and the formation elder, keep an eye on them. If they make any strange movements, immediately move. None of them will be able to escape today. The leader said. "Yes, my lord." The attendants immediately bowed in acknowledgement and retreated. Rumble. Wang Chong had been focused on analyzing the formation. But suddenly, without any warning, the formation began to rumble, and the surrounding stellar energy suddenly fell into disorder. Have they sensed it? Wang Chong stopped and raised his head toward the center of the formation. Although he couldn't see how the formation was operating, Wang Chong could sense that it was moving faster and faster. But this won't be able to stop me. Wang Chong inwardly smiled. As he approached the center of the formation, the path he took was the simplest and most direct. It was almost impossible to hide from the people controlling the formation. But to Wang Chong, these changes were all within his expectations. Wang Chong hastened his footsteps and headed forward. This kid's picking up his pace. He must have sensed something. Milord said before that this group of people seemed to understand a little about formations, and were able to deduce the rules of the formation. It seems like this kid knows a little as well. A formation left behind by an immortal lord isn't that easy to break. Not even those formidable members of the Imperial clan can do it, much less this kid. Does he really think he can break the formation just by moving faster? I can't wait to see the scene of him being thrown into the death gate by the array, and finally turning into ashes. In the center of the formation, two black figures silently watched Wang Chong. With a push of their palms, they accelerated the formation around Wang Chong. A moment later, the pain gate, the alarm gate, and the most dangerous death gate began to move, gathering around Wang Chong. In a flash, Wang Chong was surrounded by killing intent. No matter which direction Wang Chong moved in, he would fall into one of these dangerous formation gates. Even if Wang Chong entered the alarm gate, which was the least dangerous, they still had a way to make Wang Chong succumb to the endless attacks of the formation. In the face of this sort of attack, even a peak Imperial Great General would gradually exhaust all of their stellar energy until they were on the verge of death. But a moment later the pair were stunned. Wang Chong faintly smiled, and then, as if sensing something, he suddenly stopped. Ever since he had left the formation, Wang Chong had been moving in a roundabout fashion toward the center of the formation. But now he was just standing there, his feet not moving at all. The two of them could even see him looking up at them, smiling. What's going on here? Chapter 1434. Are you starting to plot against me now? Wang Chong stared at a certain spot in the void with a faint smile on his face. True knowledge comes from practice. Although he had not been studying formations for long, Wang Chong's understanding of formations was growing at an alarming rate once he had established the model of such a formation and continuously verified and corrected it in practice. At that moment, Wang Chong could clearly sense that the surrounding formation gates had deviated greatly from his calculations. His instincts told him that he was now surrounded by many dangers and traps. Under such circumstances, no matter what he chose, he would still end up dead. If he was not careful, he might even end up in the death gate. Unfortunately, although these people were smart, they had forgotten one thing. Every formation gate was constantly changing, so it was impossible for it to stay in one position for a long time. No matter how many dangerous array gates were laid down, in the end, these array gates would be moved away. Wang Chong's expression was calm and confident, as if he had already seen through all the mysteries. 3, 2, 1. Now, just as he counted to 1, Wang Chong's figure suddenly moved in the northwest direction. He stepped into the formation gate in the northwest, and used it as a springboard to move forward rapidly. The view gate. At the sight of this, the two hidden figures in the center of the formation immediately had unpleasant looks on their faces. Around Wang Chong, that was the only chance of survival, and the fastest way to lead Wang Chong out of this trap. In an instant, the two of them could no longer maintain their initial calm. Any cultivator that fell into this formation was like a tiny ant or duckweed in front of these people. They could be easily toyed with in the palm of their hands. However, the feeling that Wang Chong gave the two of them was that he was a cunning loach. Not only could he slip away from their grasp, but he could also see through their methods and intentions and play tricks on them. However, the more this was the case, the more the two of them could not tolerate Wang Chong. It looks like he is very good at planning. I'm afraid our methods won't be able to stop him. Since that's the case, let's mess up all the array gates around him. Let's see how he can calculate it. Let's change the positions of the 9 palaces as well. This will greatly increase the difficulty of his calculations. I don't believe we can't trap him like this. In an instant, the two of them activated the array formation again, and changed the operation of the array formation around Wang Chong. Boom! Dangerous array gates kept surging towards Wang Chong, and the speed of the array formation was getting faster and faster. Southwest 3 seconds. Southeast 2 seconds. Qian Palace 1 second. Kim Palace 3 seconds. Wang Chong walked hurriedly, his robes fluttering in the wind. His left hand was making hand seals, And at the same time, his mind was constantly calculating. At the same time, his body kept moving forward, sometimes to the left and sometimes to the right, changing constantly. Sometimes he would even take a step back without any warning and enter another array door at the back. Throughout the entire process, his movements seemed completely irregular and unpredictable. However, in the center of the array, the two hidden figures saw Wang Chang's movements, and their expressions became more and more unsightly. Wang Chang's chaotic movements seemed meaningless, but in the eyes of the people controlling the array, everything was completely different. As the two of them activated the array formation, Wang Chang's surroundings had long since become turbulent, and he was in grave danger. But every time, Wang Chang was able to use an astonishing method to barely escape from the danger. The entire process was like walking on a tightrope. If there was the slightest mistake, he would immediately be consigned to eternal damnation. Time slowly passed, and after about 10 minutes, with a bang, Wang Chang took a step forward and appeared in another place within the array formation. Looking in the direction of the array formation, Wang Chang's eyes revealed a trace of a smile. On the other side, in the center of the array, the expressions of the two hidden figures had long since become unsightly. Their auras were chaotic, and it was clear that they had expended a lot of energy. Activating and altering the operation of the array in this battle also consumed stellar energy. In this battle with Wang Chang, the two of them had used up half their energy, and in the end, they had even lost. This was something they had never imagined. How could something like this happen? The two of them were both shocked and angry, but they were even more unconvinced. This was their territory, and no one could defeat them. I don't believe that I can't deal with him. Just when the two of them were prepared to activate the array, a cold and dignified voice rang out in their ears. Enough! Ignore that brat. Activate the array immediately, and finish off these greedy martial artists. Yes, my lord. The two trembled as they hurriedly came back to their senses and bowed. What's going on? At almost the same time, within the Origin Immortal formation, Wang Chang suddenly stopped. All was quiet, and the attack he had been anticipating had suddenly vanished. But at this moment, not only did Wang Chang not feel the slightest bit at ease, he even deeply frowned. For some reason, this abnormal calm made him feel a deep sense of danger. Rumble! As Wang Chang was thinking, an unprecedented boom came from the center of the array, causing the earth to tremble. What's going on here? This sudden boom immediately attracted the attention of all the martial artists in the array. The heaven-rending boom made all of them feel deeply uneasy. Alliance Lord, what should we do now? In another part of the array, Sikong Yuanjia and the others turned to Song Yuani. Unlike the others, all the elders of the Zhengqi League had sensed a thick ripple of origin energy in that thunderous boom. This origin energy ripple was enough to make even the illustrious elders of the martial arts world feel insignificant from the depths of their hearts. All of them felt nervous and uneasy. Song Yuani said nothing. His body was as straight as ever, his face as cold and aloof as ever. It was like nothing in the world could shake him. But deep in his eyes, Song Yuani had a pensive look on his face. He had originally believed that the Origin Immortal Mountain was concealing the world's #1 art. However, judging from the current situation, it was obvious that this was a trap. The true location of the Origin Immortal Mountain was still very far away. Now the only reason left was to chase after the demonic Emperor Zhang Wenfu. Advance! There's no chance to retreat. We can only enter the core and destroy it. This is the only path. Song Yuani said after a moment of thought. His voice was cold, but his expression was as resolute as ever. There was no turning back. Since they had already entered the formation, there was no going back. Even though Song Yuani didn't understand formations, he knew that entering the core of the formation was the most violent and most direct method to break the formation, even though he didn't understand formations. Although the Origin Immortal formation was dangerous, it was far easier for Song Yuani, who had the greatest defensive power. Let's go, Song Yuani expressionlessly said, and then he took the lead. However, in the next moment rumble, an earth-shattering sound suddenly came from behind him. Cackalack! The earth began to crack as something happened behind Song Yuanyi. Buzz! Without any warning, the earth split open, and the formation gate behind Song Yuanyi split into 4. At the same time, all the members of the Jingqi League were separated. Alliance Lord, save me. A Jingqi League expert's eyes went wide as he looked in Song Yuanyi's direction and fearfully extended his hands. His expression was that of a drowning man gazing at a straw that could save his life. But a moment later, in a flash of light, the formation gate shifted, and the Righteous Alliance expert, and the 10 some Righteous Alliance disciples around him, seemed to be grabbed by an invisible monster and dragged away. In just a few seconds they had vanished. Not good. Everyone be careful. Ah, Alliance Lord. At almost the same time, one Righteous Alliance expert after another vanished amid cries of alarm. Huh. Song Yuanyi's eternal spring stellar energy transformed into tentacles that tore through the air. But he only had time to pull out 4 or 5 experts from his alliance and hover them in the air. The area behind him instantly went blank. Other than the elders and Righteous Alliance experts at Song Yuanyi's side, even Elder Sikong Yuanjia had vanished into thin air under the activation of the formation. Damn it! Song Yuanyi finally lost his composure, his face contorting into a nasty grimace. At almost the same time, in a distant place, the people of the 5 Ancestor Alliance were in a similar predicament. In the blink of an eye, several hundred 5 Ancestor Alliance experts had been swept up by the crumbling formation gate and thrown to various other formation gates. Miserable shrieks lingered in the air. Bastard! Black Yin ancestor Luo Qin let out a heaven-shaking roar, and his face paled as he unleashed several punches into the surroundings. The surging evil qi covered the sky and covered the earth. After about 10 feet, it seemed to have hit an invisible barrier and immediately burst apart, disappearing into nothingness. Not long after entering the formation, the Black Yin ancestor had been separated from the myriad ghost ancestor, Pei Wanchang. By now, the majority of his disciples had been rotated away. Luo Qin was infuriated. But before the Black Yin ancestor could vent his anger, the earth rumbled and the space beneath his feet began to spin like a shooting star. At the same time, an enormous energy flung the Black Yin ancestor out of the formation. Ancestor! Ancestor! The few remaining 5 Ancestor Alliance disciples next to the Black Yin ancestor paled in fright. The 5 Ancestor Alliance disciples rose from the ground in an attempt to rescue the Black Yin ancestor. Chapter 1435. Swish! The Black Yin ancestor's face was ashen as he prepared to descend to the ground. But just as he was about to land, he saw a dense rain of arrows shooting toward him. Alarm gate! This was not the first time the Black Yin ancestor had encountered this sort of attack. Attacks of this level were not enough to wound him. The Black Yin ancestor flipped his palm, and a vast stream of stellar energy transformed into a wall of black glass in front of the Black Yin ancestor. Bang bang bang. But as soon as the first arrow struck the wall, the Black Yin ancestor grimaced. This was not the first time he had encountered this sort of attack, but it was different this time. The arrows struck the black glass wall of energy with incredible force. Rather than arrows, they seemed more like the blows of a heavy hammer. Even the black wall of stellar energy the Black Yin ancestor had set up began to tremble. 1, 2, 3. As the dense rain of arrows struck the wall, the black wall of energy the Black Yin ancestor had set up dimmed, and then exploded. Not good. The great ancestor of the mysterious Yin sect punched out, shattering all the arrows. The Black Yin ancestor's face was as black as the bottom of a pot, and his expression was grim. The formation had changed. All the attacks had been strengthened, becoming even more dangerous and lethal. Everyone trapped in the formation was in danger. The Black Yin ancestor's expression was savage as he howled like a wild beast. His dantian exploded, unleashing a vast amount of evil energy as he shot toward the center of the formation like a cannonball. Just who dares to make an enemy of this ancestor? Before he could finish speaking, he had already vanished. The Black Yin ancestor was not skilled in formations, but at this moment, even he could sense that someone was messing around behind the scenes disrupting the operation of the formation. What was happening before him was definitely not normal. Ah! A series of blood-curdling screams could be heard one after another. Wang Chong grimaced at the screams of death coming from up ahead. Not only that, the entire formation began to operate in a completely different manner. Each array door was split into 4. In other words, the more than 10,000 array gates had now become more than 40,000. Moreover, they were operating faster and faster, changing more frequently, and becoming more and more aggressive. They're preparing to exterminate all the warriors in the formation. Wang Chong's expression turned extremely grave as the winds howled, and the air surged. Through the world of the origin of Qi, Wang Chong could see a vast power of heaven and earth, enough to make any martial artist pale in comparison, rolling over like a tide, from the core to the edge, sweeping towards every array gate. This huge energy in a mysterious way quickly reinforced the array door, and at the same time, increased the power of the various attacks inside. There's no time. Wang Chong's hair was flying upwards, and his expression was unprecedentedly serious. Those hidden factions had activated the final power of the formation, and wiped out all the martial artists, much earlier than he and the formation elder had calculated. Obviously, those people were getting anxious. They wanted to exterminate all the martial artists as quickly as possible. Too many martial artists of the martial arts world have gathered in this operation. No matter what, they can't be allowed to succeed. Wang Chong looked forward, his eyes sharp. Whoosh! Without the slightest hesitation, Wang Chong sped up, his body flashing as he entered a formation gate and charged forward. Boom boom boom. The formation began to change, and in Wang Chong's mind, the massive origin immortal formation began to operate at a speed far greater than it had ever operated before. In this process, Wang Chong's psychic energy was rapidly being consumed. As a psychic energy practitioner, Wang Chong had an enormous amount of psychic energy, which was why Wang Chong was able to perform so many calculations in such a short time, even surpassing a formation grandmaster like the formation elder. Calculating a formation consumed psychic energy, especially when the origin immortal formation was so complex. The faster he calculated, the longer he took, the more psychic energy he consumed. As Wang Chong performed calculations that were several times faster than usual, the psychic energy in his mind began to drain at an astonishing rate. But Wang Chong had no time to worry about such things. Ah! A scream came from up ahead, and in a flash of light, Wang Chong entered the next formation gate. Inside, he saw the martial artists, their faces covered in blood, struggling against the rain of rocks and arrows. It's over. We're all dead. Looking at the overwhelming attacks, all the cultivators were filled with despair. Hold on. You won't die yet. A thunderous roar resounded in their ears, and before they could react, the energies of yin and yang howled out, wrapping around these martial artists, and tossing them into the formation gates that Wang Chong had thrown. The three of you should work together, and hold on for a while. You should be able to safely reach the edge of the formation. The rumbling voice was still ringing in their ears, but a moment later, Wang Chong was gone. The origin immortal formation was becoming more and more dangerous the closer one got to the center, and the formation was changing faster and faster. But no matter how dangerous the situation was, Wang Chong was always able to calculate the slim chance of survival in the blink of an eye, and pass through it with a confident and determined pace. As the origin immortal formation changed, the formation projection in Wang Chong's mind began to revolve at an astonishing speed, the 9 layers of the formation moving at a dazzling pace. But no matter how the formation changed, Wang Chong could have the formation projection in his mind imitate it, and search for the slim chance of survival to the center. Vish! An arrow as thick as a finger shot toward Wang Chong with devastating energy, but a moment later, Wang Chong dodged it by a hair. Kiki! Just when Wang Chong had passed through the gap between the pain gate and death gate, and was just about to reach the open gate, he suddenly heard a chirping sound. This sound was like that of an insect, but it was also completely different. There was a metallic ringing to it, and it was also much louder. Wang Chong paid no attention. His brows rose as he hurried forward, However, in the next moment, there was a flash of light. A golden light suddenly appeared and shot toward his face. Where did this insect come from? Wang Chong frowned. He could tell at a glance that this was a golden beetle the size of a silver dollar. Its wings spread open. Cautiously, Wang Chong took 2 steps back and thrust out a palm, sending a flood of energy toward the golden beetle. A moment later, Wang Chong's stellar energy struck the mysterious golden beetle. Wang Chong's attack was extremely powerful. When his palm landed, it had the weight of tens of thousands of kilograms. Even a rock would be easily shattered. But in the next moment, something unexpected happened. When Wang Chong's palm landed, the golden beetle only swayed in the air for a moment before speeding up toward Wang Chong. Not only that, but at this moment, Wang Chong could clearly sense through the origin of qi that not only was the golden beetle unharmed, but the light around its body had also become much more powerful. It was as if a part of Wang Chong's palm had been absorbed by the golden beetle and entered its body. How is this possible? What kind of insect is this? Wang Chong's heart skipped a beat, and his expression was completely different from before. No insect could withstand his strength of tens of thousands of kilograms, not even those made of steel. Clearly there was something strange about this insect. Buzz! As the golden beetle shot toward him in a streak of light, Wang Chong's heart chilled, and he immediately felt an intense sense of danger. Based on what the formation elder had said, the Origin Immortal formation was the world's #1 formation, and the closer one got to the core, the more dangerous it would be. Moreover, the formation was assuredly being protected by some powerful technique. This golden beetle was probably the defensive strength of the formation's core. 3 golden beetles, 1 in front and 2 in the back, stood in a triangular formation. They screeched like they had found food and lunged at Wang Chong. With no time to think, Wang Chong flicked his finger, sending a milky white strand of sword qi at the golden beetle in midair. Wang Chong had executed the art of god and demon obliteration at this moment. Kiki! Struck by Wang Chong's sword qi, the golden beetle at the very front immediately flipped over and slid backward, wisps of mist erupting from its back. And Wang Chong could see that this golden beetle's energy had been weakened by a third. It appeared to have sustained significant injuries. What a terrifying insect! To think that its defense would be so strong. Wang Chong grimaced at this sight. Even though he had seen many things in his 2 lives, he had never seen an insect like this. Not only was ordinary stellar energy ineffective against them, it was actually absorbed to increase their strength. The art of god and demon obliteration was said to be unparalleled in the world, and it was ranked second only to the Origin Immortal art. Even though it could pierce through metal, it could not kill these golden beetles. But even so, this sword qi could still injure the beetles, and it was probably the only way to injure them at present. Pa. Chapter 1436. Wang Chong's attacks were accurate, fast and ruthless. Although he flicked his index finger repeatedly, each finger was carefully calculated, and each finger struck the golden beetles. Pa. With a series of explosions, the 3 golden beetles emitted a puff of smoke every time they were struck by sword qi. After 4 finger strikes, one of the golden beetles was pierced through by Wang Chong's tiny sword qi, losing all signs of life and falling from the sky. 1, 2, 3. In but an instant, the 3 mysterious golden beetles immediately froze and fell from the sky, their abdomens facing upwards motionless. Green blood splattered all around. After killing these 3 golden beetles, Wang Chong's figure flickered, and he immediately headed towards the next area. Big Brother Zhang. We're finished. Within the massive array, corrosive poison mist drifted about. A lone martial artist stood not too far away, his eyes filled with despair. Gigi. In front of him, small golden beetles danced about in the air, their bodies glowing with a misty brilliance. And not too far away from them, a martial artist let out shrill screams, their faces filled with terror, as they constantly slapped at the golden beetles around them. Of those who could enter this place, there was not a single one of them who was weak, and all of them had incredibly thick stellar energy. But no matter how thick their stellar energy was, it could do nothing to these golden beetles. These strange insects gnawed at the protective stellar energy around their bodies like they were leaves, and then burrowed into the bodies of these martial artists through the small holes they had bitten. All the martial artists did their best, constantly slapping at these golden beetles. But even so, they were only able to send these golden beetles flying or smash them into the ground. Their bodies were as dense as steel, and even though they suffered such heavy blows, their bodies only swayed a little, and then they shook their wings and flew up again. To the martial artists here, this was like the deepest nightmare. In their lives, they had never encountered something so terrifying. What was even more frightening was that 7 or 8 martial artists had already had their stellar energy bitten through by these golden beetles and burrowed into their bodies, swimming around under their skin. Some of the cultivators fell to the ground, rolling and screaming. Some of them even tore at their flesh, wanting to tear the golden beetles out of their bodies. However, even though these martial artists tore themselves into a bloody mess, they were unable to stop these golden beetles from burrowing deeper into their bodies. Looking at this bloody scene, especially the way the golden beetles were swimming in his body, all the surrounding warriors felt a great impact. Their faces were pale and filled with fear. The shock they felt was even more intense than those martial artists whose bodies had been invaded by the golden beetles. Everyone was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. Keep your spirits up. Have you forgotten what we agreed on back then? Since we came together, we should go back together. Stand up. No matter what, I won't allow you to give up. Within the array formation, a rough voice roared at the top of his lungs. It was a bare-chested middle-aged warrior. His hair was disheveled, and his armor was in tatters. The broadsword in his hand was like a torrential storm, constantly hacking at the golden beetles in the air. That broadsword had long since been chipped, but the bare-chested middle-aged warrior still refused to give up. His eyes were bloodshot as he charged forward again and again, blocking the golden beetles in the air for his brothers, who were fighting shoulder to shoulder. The golden beetles were not afraid of stellar energy. In fact, they fed on stellar energy. No matter how strong an attack was, it would only do limited damage to them. Although this kind of ordinary sword attack seemed weak, it was actually more effective. However, even the most optimistic person could sense that the bare-chested middle-aged warrior would not be able to hold on much longer. Once this broadsword was completely shattered by the golden beetle, this middle-aged warrior would suffer the same fate as the other warriors. Big brother, go quickly. Don't bother about us, we're already dead. No matter what, you must come back alive. An unaffiliated martial artist whose body had been burrowed into by a golden beetle roared, but halfway through his words, his voice turned into a wretched howl. The middle-aged warrior's heart was dripping blood, and he clenched his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. This group of people had come for the world's #1 origin immortal art. But now, not only had they failed to obtain it, they were about to die here. It's all my fault. It's all my fault. If it weren't for me, they wouldn't be in this situation. The bare-chested middle-aged warrior mentally roared, his heart aching as he watched his brothers besieged by the golden beetles. If we're going to die, we'll die together. Since we can't be brothers in this life, we'll meet again in the next. As the middle-aged warrior closed his eyes and prepared to commit suicide, a figure appeared in the array in a flash of light. Run! This place is dangerous. Sensing that someone else had come in, the middle-aged warrior who had been preparing to commit suicide came back to his senses and roared. Clang! He slashed down with his sword, cutting down 2 of the golden beetles charging at him, and another one charging at the golden beetle behind him. Kiki! Just when the middle-aged warrior thought that he had cut down all the golden beetles, he suddenly heard a shrill sound. Just below the middle-aged martial artist's ribs, 2 golden beetles had pounced over at some unknown time, burrowing their way towards him. It's over. The middle-aged warrior's heart chilled, his face paling in despair. But a moment later, just when the middle-aged warrior believed that his death was certain, he heard a shrill whistle. The warrior opened his eyes and saw that the 2 golden beetles had at some point been struck by 2 bolts of sword chi, and had been forced back through the air. Out of the way! Watch out for these beetles. Wang Chong's voice was like a bolt of lightning as he lunged forward from several dozen feet away, flicking his fingers as he did so. Plush, plush, plush. Several bolts of sword chi exploded from the bodies of the golden beetles, and then they dropped to the ground with their 6 legs facing the sky. Wang Chong killed the golden beetles with a few more flicks of his fingers, and at the same time, he continued in another direction. Countless milky white sword chi cut down the golden beetles in the air with unparalleled sharpness, continuously striking the golden beetles in the air. Screeching sounds rang out. 1, 2, 3, one golden beetle after another fell to the ground. The art of god and demon obliteration was passed down from the Tang dynasty's god of war, So Yung-sun. It was now the only ultimate art that Wang Chong could use freely without suffering from chi deviation or aggravating his injuries. Thus, even though it consumed stellar energy, for Wang Chong, killing these golden beetles did not affect him much. 1, 2, 3. In a short period of time, 7 or 8 golden beetles had been killed by Wang Chong. Seeing this, the middle-aged warrior was dumbfounded, unable to even speak. He poured stellar energy into his broadsword and slashed at these golden beetles with all his might, but all he could do was push them back. But who could have imagined that this new figure would be able to kill a golden beetle with just a few flashes of sword chi? This was simply unbelievable. But at this moment, Wang Chong did not notice the change in the middle-aged warrior's expression. His attention was completely attracted by the golden beetles. At the beginning, he had only encountered 3 golden beetles, but there were more than 3 golden beetles here. With the strength of these warriors, they clearly could not withstand them. With no time to think, Wang Chong grabbed a warrior whose body had been burrowed by a golden beetle. With a slash of his finger, he dug out a piece of flesh along with the golden beetle beneath his skin. Poof, poof, poof. 3 flashes of sword chi. Before this golden beetle could do anything, it was immediately killed by Wang Chong. After that, Wang Chong killed a few more golden beetles in quick succession. In an instant, it was as if he had poked a hornet's nest. The golden beetles that had been rushing towards the others all changed directions and rushed towards Wang Chong. In the void there was a loud squeaking sound. Fellow Taoist, don't worry about us, go. Seeing this scene, the middle-aged warrior's expression changed. 20 to 30 of them could not deal with this swarm of golden beetles, and now all the golden beetles were rushing towards a single person. The degree of danger could be imagined. The other party had come for his group, and the middle-aged warrior did not want anything to happen to the other party, because of him. Fellow Taoist, don't worry, I'm fine. Wang Chong flicked his fingers repeatedly, and astonishing flashes of sword chi crisscrossed, constantly breaking through the air. Each wisp of sword chi struck a golden beetle, once, twice, thrice. In just the time of a few breaths, all the golden beetles had not even flown to Wang Chong's side when they were struck by Wang Chong. One by one, they lost their breath and fell from the sky. How is this possible? This time, it wasn't just the middle-aged cultivator. Even the other idle cultivators also noticed this incredible scene, and each and every one of them was dumbfounded. However, at this moment, Wang Chong had no time to care about anything else. His eyes swept over the warriors who were still rolling and howling in pain, glancing at the beetles that were still swimming under their skin. With a thought, Wang Chong suddenly changed his tactics. Swoosh! 5 or 6 flashes of sword chi broke through the air, directly drilling into the warriors whose bodies had been penetrated by the golden beetles. Ah, what are you doing? Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. Those golden beetles were harder than steel, and they could absorb gang chi. The other party's sword chi could pierce through these golden beetles with a finger, so one could imagine how sharp it was. If they were hit by this kind of sword chi, the consequences would be unimaginable. One by one, the warriors who could still move rushed towards Wang Chong, wanting to stop him, but with their strength, how could they resist? The next moment, something shocking happened. Wang Chong's sword chi only pierced the skin of those idle warriors, and the rest of the sword chi shot towards the golden beetles under their skin with surgical precision. Each golden beetle withstood Wang Chong's sword chi 3 times, and then was directly killed by Wang Chong's sword chi, motionless. Chapter 1437. All of you, hurry and leave this place. This place has become very dangerous. The formation core has been activated, and an even stronger attack is coming. In 12 seconds, a limit gate will appear in the northwest. Once you enter, use your combined strength to resist the attack. The formation will bring you to the edge and allow you to escape this disaster. Wang Chong's voice resounded in everyone's ears. A moment later, with a slap, Wang Chong sent a majestic wave of stellar energy into the middle-aged martial artist's body, rapidly replenishing the energy he had consumed. Here are a few pills that can help you. You'll have to rely on yourselves for the rest. With these words, Wang Chong tossed aside the milky white dove-shaped pill and immediately began to advance. Time was short, and if he did not find a way to enter the core and destroy the formation, Wang Chong was certain that an even greater danger would come. Not only would more martial artists die, even he and his master would not be able to escape. Brother, wait a moment. May I know brother's esteemed name? The middle-aged martial artist called out to Wang Chong. But in a flash of light, Wang Chong had vanished into the next formation gate. The middle-aged martial artist was momentarily speechless. Big brother, I recognize him. Suddenly, a voice as soft as a mosquito's buzz came from next to his ear. This person is that fake young master Qingyang, demonic emperor Zhang Wenfu's disciple, and also the Tang dynasty's king of foreign lands, Wang Chong. What? The king of foreign lands? It's him. Zhang Shanggu was struck dumb by his sworn brother's words. It was Unfettered Gold Crow who told us to join him. It's him, the unfettered martial artist confidently said. In an instant, the surroundings were deathly silent, and everyone was speechless for a long time. Time was short, and as Wang Chong made his way toward the core of the formation, his footsteps began to slow. The closer he got to the core, the greater the danger, and the more formidable the traps. Boom, boom, boom. Huge stone pillars fell from the sky. Each pillar was so thick that it would take 2 people to wrap their arms around it. When they hit the ground, the earth shook. This was no longer a purely physical attack. Wang Chong could sense an intense energy fluctuation coming from within the stone pillars. An endless amount of energy was pouring into the stone pillars, greatly increasing the power of the attack. Ah! A shrill scream rang out as a warrior was struck by a falling stone pillar and turned into dust. Within the array formation, there were simply too many cultivators being attacked. Even Wang Chong could not take care of everyone. Follow me. Wang Chong activated the Great Yin-Yang Heaven Creation Art. A powerful suction force swept through the air, pulling in the martial artists trapped in the formation. After being rescued from the brink of death, he was quickly thrown into the nearby formation. Wang Chong did not even have time to explain anything to them, nor did he have time to help them recover from their injuries or replenish their stellar energy. This was because Wang Chong had no time to do such things. Every moment they spent in the array formation was an additional moment of danger. I'll save as many as I can. Everything will depend on their own fortune, Wang Chong quietly said to himself. Along the way, he had seen far too many martial artists die miserable deaths. At this time, there were countless more struggling martial artists in the array. All Wang Chong could do was reach the core as quickly as possible, destroy it, and save all the martial artists once and for all. And during this time, Wang Chong could only save as many as he could see. Gigi. As Wang Chong passed through a formation and avoided the rain of stone arrows, he heard the sound of metal scraping against metal. From all around him, golden beetles seemed to be attracted by something, abandoning their opponents and lunging at Wang Chong. Unlike the first golden beetles that Wang Chong had seen, these beetles each had a halo of golden light around them, and their bodies were filled with intense ripples of energy. Moreover, they were obviously much bigger than before. These are all obtained by absorbing the stellar energy of martial artists. Wang Chong quietly said to himself. Every time these golden beetles killed a martial artist, they would absorb a significant amount of stellar energy and grow much stronger. The most obvious change was in the halo around their bodies. The halo around the golden beetles was so dazzling that it was hard to tell how many martial artists they had killed. Pa, pa, pa. Wang Chong flicked his finger 3 times, striking a beetle in the air. But then, something astonishing happened. In the past, he could kill a golden beetle with 3 fingers, but this time, only the halo around their bodies was torn apart by Wang Chong. They continued charging at Wang Chong without slowing down. Seeing this, even Wang Chong couldn't help but feel apprehensive. These golden beetles had clearly been strengthened. At this rate, he would probably need 5 or 6 fingers to kill one golden beetle. Gigi. On the other side, there was a loud whistling sound. Countless golden beetles seemed to have been provoked and lunged at Wang Chong. Even Wang Chong found it difficult to defend against such a large number of them. Without any hesitation, Wang Chong summoned the other magic treasure in his body, Heavenly Mandate Battle Armor. With a flash of light, a dark red armor immediately appeared on Wang Chong's body. Helmet, mask, gauntlets, the entire armor wrapped around Wang Chong, leaving only a few gaps between the armor pieces. But with a thought from Wang Chong clang, all the gaps in the armor were sealed shut, leaving behind no more openings. Bang, bang, bang. The next moment, the sound of collisions came from outside the armor. One golden beetle after another slammed into Wang Chong's body, but all of them fell off. What is that? In the center of the formation, 3 hidden figures had been watching Wang Chong this entire time. When they saw that he had suddenly put on a set of savage red armor, their leader's brow rose and his face paled. The 2 attendants behind him also revealed a look of shock. The golden beetles were no ordinary items. They were an ancient species. Not only could they break through a cultivator's stellar energy and dilute their power, but they were also incredibly strong. They could devour iron and steel, and ordinary armor could not stop them. But now that Wang Chong was wearing the armor, he seemed completely unaffected. "My lord, the martial artists of the martial arts world can't possibly have a treasure like this. And I've never seen him wear this armor before. He must be in cahoots with those people," one of the attendants suddenly said. A gloomy look appeared on the faces of the 3, and the eyes of the leader at the very front were brimming with killing intent. "All treasures consume stellar energy. I'd like to see just how long he can last against the attacks of the stellar-piercing golden beetles. Keep an eye on that kid, and increase the intensity of the attacks. No matter what, we can't let him get close to the formation core." The leader's expression was frigid as he spoke. "Yes." The 2 attendants quickly left with the order. At this moment, Wang Chong had no idea what was happening. Or perhaps he had no time to pay attention to anything else. The golden beetles were constantly crashing into him and bouncing off him. But they were all blocked by the Heavenly Mandate Battle Armor, and could do nothing to him. But at this moment, Wang Chong couldn't find it in him to be happy. The Heavenly Mandate Battle Armor consumed a massive amount of stellar energy. And in Wang Chong's current state, once he used the Heavenly Mandate Battle Armor, it would be no different from attacking someone else. For Wang Chong, whose stellar energy was in conflict and on the verge of cultivation defect, this was an enormous danger. This was also why Wang Chong hadn't used the Heavenly Mandate Battle Armor before. Not only that, even if the Heavenly Mandate Battle Armor could block all the attacks of the golden beetles, it still had an irremediable flaw: the time limit. The Heavenly Mandate Battle Armor can't last more than an hour. But in my current state, I won't even be able to last 10 minutes. No matter what, I have to reach the formation core before that happens and break the formation," Wang Chong quietly said within the Heavenly Mandate Battle Armor, his face ghastly pale. From start to finish, Wang Chong's stellar energy had been constantly consumed, and his meridians were growing more and more disorderly. For the first time, Wang Chong felt an intense sense of danger. Those people hiding in the shadows had clearly increased their attacks, in an attempt to kill everyone. Even his master, and the formation elder might not be safe. No matter what, he had to break the formation. "I've already reached the 3rd layer of the core. As long as I can pass through these 3 layers, I'll reach the core," Wang Chong said to himself, as he turned the model of the Origin Immortal Formation in his mind. The size and complexity of the formation far surpassed Wang Chong's imagination, and his psychic energy was being consumed at an astonishing rate. Moreover, the closer he got to the center, the more complex the calculations became. The formation elder had been correct. The origin immortal formation had far too many variables, and the calculations were far too complex. Unless one was the person who had laid down the formation, outsiders would find it very difficult to use calculations to break it. If he hadn't constructed the model of the origin immortal formation, he would have needed an astronomical amount of calculations to calculate the core of the formation. Even with the model, it was still a waste of energy. Rumble. As he was calculating, another rumble came from the core of the formation. Wang Chong raised his head and saw that another tide of energy was surging toward him through the world of energy. Those scoundrels are messing around again. Wang Chong narrowed his eyes, a sharp light in them. He had heard this sort of boom at least 6 or 7 times now. With each boom, the formation's power would increase, and its attacks would become sharper and more powerful. Their situation was worsening, becoming more and more dangerous. I have to speed up, Wang Chong said to himself. Kiki. Chapter 1438. Roar. The moment he entered the formation gate, he heard a series of explosions. Wang Chong raised his head and saw furious roars coming from within the formation gate. Peak Imperial martial experts, all of them wearing the infinite immortal crane robe, had formed a tight sword formation to fend off the rain of arrows and rocks, as well as the roiling lava underground. Careful, Zhou Chong, hold on. The Alliance Lord will definitely come to save us. That's right. No matter what, we can't give up. Let's destroy this formation together. These martial artists were in an extremely bad situation. Not only did they have to deal with the attacks of the formation, they also had to deal with the attacks of the golden beetles. But these martial artists had excellent teamwork, and it was clear that they had paid a terrible price to discover the weakness of the golden beetles. The warriors kept swinging their swords, slashing the golden beetles around them with all their might. Not a single one of the 30 to 40 beetles was able to break through their blockade. Every time they got close, they would be sent flying. Most eye-catching of all was the massive black qilin in the center of the group. This massive qilin was as thick as a mountain, and its massive feet were constantly beating against the ground, shattering more than half of the incoming attacks. A significant portion of the golden beetles had also been attracted by it. The black qilin was sacrificing itself to help the Imperial martial experts. The Zhengqi League. Elder Ouyang. As Wang Chong stepped into the formation, his face froze in surprise. He had never imagined that he would encounter Ouyang Changheng and the experts of the Zhengqi League in the center of the origin immortal formation. Although they seemed to be able to hold on, even Wang Chong could tell that their situation was extremely grim. Ouyang Changheng's black qilin probably didn't even have half of its power, and the experts of the Zhengqi League under his protection were all pale, cold sweat pouring down their foreheads and dripping down their backs. Even the ground beneath their feet was soaked. It was clear that these people's stellar energies would not be able to last much longer. And the moment there was an opening, the golden beetles would immediately take advantage of it. The consequences were unthinkable. Who goes there? It's you. It's fake young Master Qingyang. What nonsense are you talking about? He's the successor of the evil emperor, a demon of the evil path. That suddenly, a loud roar sounded in his ears. When Wang Chong barged into the array door, he also attracted the attention of the Zhengqi League members. In the blink of an eye, the sounds of swords clanging could be heard. A considerable portion of the swords were aimed at Wang Chong, who had suddenly appeared. The atmosphere was extremely tense and hostile. For this little devil to appear at this time, he must be up to no good. Even if we die today, we won't let him have it easy. Bastard! He wants to ambush us? Kill him. If worst comes to worst, we'll take him down with us. That the Imperial martial experts of the Zhengqi League roared in fury. Although Wang Chong was wearing the heavenly mandate battle armor, his entire body concealed within this strange and mysterious armor, they had still been able to recognize him at a glance. Outside the array, Wang Chong had used this armor to fight against Zhengqi League Lord Song Yuani and Black Yin ancestor Luo Qiyin, so they had a deep impression of it. While they were completely focused on dealing with the traps, none of them had expected Wang Chong to appear. Demonic Emperor Zhang Wenfu's reputation in the martial arts world was well known. No matter what Wang Chong's background was, he had long ago become associated with the evil path and demon in their minds. Normally, they would have been fine, and they wouldn't have been afraid of him. But now they had consumed most of their stellar energy, and were about to run out of energy. How could they not be alarmed and angry? Wang Chong's expression chilled at this sight. He had just been considering whether or not to save these people. But if they really dared to attack, they couldn't blame him. Stop. At this moment, a loud roar came from above their heads. At this crucial moment, the Black Qilin elder Ouyang Changheng of the Jingqi League suddenly spoke, his voice harsh. Anyone who dares to attack young Master Wang will be punished according to the League's rules. These words took the Zhengqi League experts by surprise, and even Wang Chong couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. But elder, he's the demonic emperor's disciple. An imperial martial expert of the Zhengqi League uneasily said. His distraction had almost allowed a golden beetle to charge in. If you encounter the demonic emperor and his disciple, kill them on the spot. This was the Alliance Lord's order. No one had expected Ouyang Changheng's order to be the exact opposite. No buts. All of you stand down. Young Master Wang once saved our Jingqi League. If not for him, you would have already died to the Black Yin ancestor. We are the Jingqi League, not the Evil Dao Alliance. We won't do something like biting the hand that feeds us. I don't care about the Alliance Lord's orders. But within this formation, none of you are allowed to attack young Master Wang. Ouyang Changheng's voice was stern and brooked no argument. Yes, although they were unwilling, no one dared to oppose the elder's order. Wang Chong had been watching from the sidelines this entire time, and he was also rather surprised by this sight. He had been expecting another battle, but Ouyang Changheng's attitude was completely different from what he had expected. Young Master Wang, I'm sorry. Righteous and evil have always stood against each other, and the Alliance Lord's attitude is not something I can change. I hope that young master can understand. Ouyang Changheng's voice came from the Black Qilin's mouth. Elder is too polite, Wang Chong sternly said. Ah. At this moment, a wretched scream came from the southeast. An imperial martial expert had been caught off guard, and a golden beetle had charged past his sword and burrowed into his stellar energy. The imperial martial expert was already at the end of his rope, so there was no way he would be able to resist. In the blink of an eye, the golden beetle gnawed at his stellar energy and burrowed into his body. Ah! Save me! Save me! The imperial martial expert collapsed to the ground, writhing in pain as he wailed. Huang Tong! Everyone turned pale with fright. However, before they could rush forward, in the next moment, like dominoes falling, a brass fell, and the originally tight defensive circle immediately showed a flaw. Golden beetle after golden beetle burrowed through the gap. Clink-lang! Clink-lang! The sound of the sword clashing against the golden beetles rang out incessantly, and some of the golden beetles were sent flying. But the more they did this, the greater the chaos. Without the formation, no matter how skilled they were, they couldn't block the attacks of the golden beetles. Screams rang out as more and more imperial martial experts of the Jingqi League fell to the ground. Right at this time, another wave of sharp whistling sounds rang out. The sky darkened, and tens of thousands of arrows and rocks whistled over. A new wave of formation attacks came at this moment. All the arrows and rocks were accompanied by the sounds of wind and thunder, and they were even more powerful than before. Not good. Ouyang Changheng was stunned by this sight, but there was no time to think. Roar! With a deafening roar, Ouyang Changheng's Black Qilin clawed at the arrows in the sky, but in the next moment, there was a shrill scream as an extremely large golden beetle, glowing with blazing light, followed Ouyang Changheng's stellar energy and burrowed into his shoulder. Unlike the other golden beetles, the mist around this giant golden beetle was actually dark red, like an agate or a gem. Ouyang Changheng's movements were thrown into disarray, and countless arrows, imbued with destructive energy, began to rain down on him. Each of these arrows was as heavy as lightning, and Ouyang Changheng immediately vomited a mouthful of blood as he withstood the attack of thousands of arrows. The black qilin in the sky also toppled to the side, the stellar energy around its body rapidly dimming. Elder! The Zhengqi League experts cried out in alarm at this sight, and threw themselves at Ouyang Changheng, their expressions panicked. They had lost all of their usual composure. They didn't even have time to worry about the attacks coming from behind them. The closer they got to the core of the formation, the more powerful the attacks. The only reason they were still alive was because of Ouyang Changheng. But not even Ouyang Changheng could hold on for long. Ah! Cries of alarm filled the air as more and more golden beetles rushed in. Even some of the golden beetles at Wang Chong's side followed. Seeing that Ouyang Changheng and the other Zhengqi League experts were about to die to the golden beetles, Wang Chong had no time to think. His body blurred as he lunged forward. Boom! Like a bolt of lightning, the two golden and red halos around Wang Chong exploded. At the same time, a powerful attractive force exploded from Wang Chong's body. The sky of arrows and rocks hurtling toward Ouyang Changheng, and the Righteous Alliance members were all torn apart by some sort of energy, and shot out of the formation like a torrential downpour. Yin-Yang transformation. Without thinking, Wang Chong unleashed the great Yin-Yang heaven creation art. The attacks that the Zhengqi League experts were facing instantly crumbled. Squeak! A golden beetle squeaked and lunged at a Zhengqi League expert. But halfway there, it was immediately pulled toward Wang Chong by a powerful force. The attractive force that Wang Chong had unleashed was so powerful that not even the golden beetles could resist it. They were all pulled toward Wang Chong. Clang! 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 Hundreds of golden beetles slammed against Wang Chong's heavenly mandate battle armor, clanging loudly. Elder Ouyang, an eye for an eye. This is all I can do for you. In 10 breaths of time, retreat into the stop gate. In the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, it will bring you to the 7th and 8th levels. This is your only chance to retreat. If you go any further, you'll most likely die. Wang Chong's voice resounded in everyone's ears. This is the last thing I can do for you. Before the Zhengqi League experts could understand the meaning of Wang Chong's final words, Wang Chong's right arm, wrapped in dark red armor, suddenly pulled at the sky. Chapter 1439. Bathed in this heaven-earth yuan qi, everyone's auras rapidly grew. What? Suddenly, the hidden leader and his subordinates in the air at the center of the formation were flabbergasted, their faces filled with disbelief. Their eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. How is this possible? He can actually absorb the energy of the formation. The energy that Wang Chong had pulled out to help Ouyang Changheng and the others was none other than the energy of the world that they had used to open the gate and charge in to strengthen the formation's attacks. Even if they were beaten to death, they wouldn't dare to believe that such a thing could happen. No matter what, this kid must die. Release all the stellar-piercing beetles. I want to see just how much more ability he has. The leader roared, his face filled with rage. Originally, his target had been the martial artists in the formation, but now, Wang Chong had replaced them, becoming their absolute target. In an instant, all the golden beetles were released to deal with Wang Chong. Within the formation, Wang Chong had attracted all the golden beetles and immediately charged into the next formation gate. At the same time, Wang Chong's body exploded with waves of sharp sword qi, blowing up several golden beetles in the air. Upon smelling the aura of their own kind, the golden beetles were stimulated into a frenzy. All of them swarmed toward Wang Chong. Bzz. In a flash of light, Wang Chong and the golden beetles disappeared from everyone's sight. Behind them, within the formation, there was a moment of deathly silence. Everyone looked at each other, unable to say a word. This was especially true for those Zhengqi League experts who had cursed at Wang Chong. Their faces were filled with shame, their expressions complicated. In the end, you've saved us yet again. Ouyang Changheng sighed inwardly, as he looked in the direction that Wang Chong had left. Did you all hear that? Everyone get ready. In 10 breaths, we'll leave immediately. Ouyang Changheng took a deep breath, and quickly regained his composure. Although he had managed to save Ouyang Changheng and the others with just a few punches, the actual situation was not as easy as he had imagined. Every time Wang Chong used the great yin-yang heaven creation art, the condition of his body worsened. In just a few moves, Wang Chong's condition had worsened considerably. Looking through Wang Chong's heavenly mandate battle armor, one could see that Wang Chong's face was pale. Alarm gate, stop gate, view gate, open gate. After passing through 2 more formations, I'll be able to reach the core of the formation, Wang Chong thought to himself. This time, Wang Chong did not encounter many warriors. Once one got too close to the core of the origin immortal formation, death was almost assured. No martial artist could reach such depths. Wang Chong relied on his enormous calculation and deduction abilities to go deeper and deeper. The attacks from all around him kept getting stronger, but most of them were dodged by Wang Chong. Boom! The earth rumbled and space shuddered. In the blink of an eye, Wang Chong had broken through another formation and reached the second layer of the origin immortal formation. In front of him, waves of blood-red light rushed toward him, dyeing the surrounding space red like glass. And at the edge of the formation, Wang Chong saw massive dark red stone slabs for the first time. These stone slabs were 10 samzhong tall, and their surfaces were carved with special inscriptions. Moreover, all of them were moving. Astral absorbing stone. Wang Chong recognized them at a glance. He had only learned of these special and top-class metal stones from his conversations with the formation elder. In ancient times, almost all the powerful formations near the core would use a special material, like the astral absorbing stone. Using this metal stone as the core of a formation could create a special zone that would cause any martial artist who entered to lose stellar energy at a faster rate. This was also designed to protect the core of the formation. Although Wang Chong had heard about it from the formation elder, this was his first time seeing it. In the modern era, where the art of formations had been lost, this sort of thing basically didn't exist anymore. It seems like I'm right. If I go forward, I'll reach the core of the formation, leading straight to the formation eye. Wang Chong's body swayed as he broke through the formation and continued forward. More and more golden beetles gathered around him, their screeching growing louder and louder. At a glance, there were hundreds, if not thousands of them. Unlike before, these golden beetles seemed to understand that Wang Chong's heavenly mandate battle armor would be difficult to break, so they changed their strategy and began to circle around Wang Chong. But even though they had given up on attacking, they were only getting more and more dangerous. These golden beetles were like crouching beasts, eyeing their prey. The moment they found an opening, they would immediately deal a fatal blow. Moreover, these golden beetles continued to circle around Wang Chong, completely blocking off Wang Chong's vision. All he could see was a black mass. At this point, Wang Chong could only use psychic energy to replace his eyes. But even so, there was still a significant gap between using psychic energy and what he could see with his eyes. Whoosh! A moment later, a pure black flame imbued with destructive energy soared out of Wang Chong's body. The fearless golden beetles hissed and hissed as they fell from the sky like raindrops. Not only that, even the golden spotted wings on his back had been scorched black. This scene greatly surprised Wang Chong. He had only planned to burn the beetles away, because they were too densely packed together, and he couldn't see anything. He hadn't expected that the fire of Mara he had obtained from the mysterious black-robed men would have such a powerful restraining effect on the golden beetles. The moment the fire of Mara appeared around Wang Chong, all the golden beetles seemed to be greatly frightened and scattered. Using this rare opportunity, Wang Chong immediately leapt forward. Under the countless attacks of poisonous smoke, arrows, rocks, and giant pillars, he sped up and headed for the core of the formation. Behind him, the golden beetles circled once in the air and chased after Wang Chong like maggots. Boom! The void shook again. In the blink of an eye, Wang Chong passed through another layer of formation and arrived at the first layer. The fluctuations of the world's origin energy around him grew more intense, and the dangerous aura also multiplied. Wang Chong didn't stop, quickly heading for the core of the formation. Buzz! Just as he was about to reach the core, the golden beetles chasing after Wang Chong suddenly shuddered, as if they had encountered something extremely terrifying. They all retreated and disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Wang Chong frowned, greatly surprised. He had seen the ferocity of these golden beetles before. Even though he had used the fire of Mara, he had been unable to chase them all away. That kind of maggot-like attack was enough to make any cultivator tremble in fear. But now these golden beetles had actually retreated on their own. This was really not like them. But this is good. At least I can save some stellar energy. With a thought, Wang Chong instantly dispersed the heavenly mandate battle armor on his body. Although the armor's defense was extremely powerful, it also consumed a shocking amount of stellar energy. Without the threat of the golden beetles, Wang Chong could last even longer in the formation. Wang Chong suppressed his thoughts and quickly headed for the center. After a short while he passed through the last array gate. His surroundings suddenly fell silent, and Wang Chong finally saw the center of the formation. From a distance, Wang Chong could immediately see the stone pillars at the edge of the formation core that looked like the ribs of a massive beast. Each of these stone pillars was crystalline and translucent, wide at the bottom and narrow at the top, all of them like daggers stabbing into the sky. From a distance, the surface of these stone pillars was painted with mysterious black runes. These should be the source of the formation's power. Through these stone pillars, the entire formation guides energy to the surroundings, causing all the formation doors to constantly change and become extremely dangerous. These stone pillars were very important to the formation, but it was not easy to reach here. Just the massive calculations alone were enough to keep the majority of cultivators outside. Without the slightest hesitation, Wang Chong flew over. The formation eye of the formation is like the eye of a storm. Although there is a storm outside, the danger here is not so great. Wang Chong thought to himself. The surroundings of the stone pillars were calm and tranquil. Wang Chong quickly passed through them and appeared around the massive stone pillars. As his gaze swept over the words on the stone pillars, Wang Chong raised his eyebrows as he immediately recognized them. Bird seal script. Wang Chong looked at the black words on the stone pillars and was greatly surprised. Previously, when investigating the Confucian sect, Wang Chong had come into contact with these words from the spring and autumn period. However, they were different from what Wang Chong had seen in the ancient records. These words were somewhat similar to bird seal script, but they looked even more ancient. Wang Chong did not understand the meaning of these bird seal script, but Wang Chong could sense that these words contained an extremely powerful power. As Wang Chong continued to read, he saw some other characters and symbols on the stone pillars. Suddenly, his eyes flitted over a special symbol at the bottom of the stone pillar, and his pupils constricted, his face paling. How is this possible? It's that symbol. Wang Chong's body shuddered as he stared at the bottom of the stone pillar. It was the symbol of an ancient beast. The ancient beast's head had long since disappeared, leaving behind only two sinister-looking curved fangs and a lower jaw. There were some tiny tadpole characters on the lower jaw, making it look extremely ancient. The strangest thing was that there were actually traces of black mist seeping out from the tip of the ancient beast's fangs, giving off an indescribable sense of mystery. Why are the symbols of the Doomsday Altar here? What's going on here? What does the Origin Immortal Formation and the Origin Immortal Lord have to do with all this? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.